After 10 years of being dinks, my husband's mistress is pregnant. He didn't ask her to get an abortion. Instead, he told me he wants to be a father. I have two choices: take the $3 billion in compensation and divorce, or remain Mrs. Xia, with the child considered partly mine, a painless way to become a mother. The entire Xia family thinks I'll choose the second option. After all, they all know how much I love Xia Sui, yet I chose the first option without a moment's hesitation. There was no other reason. I'd been reborn. In my past life, I spent my entire existence locked in a bitter struggle with Xia Sui's lover, only for the empire I built to end up in the hands of her son. Given a second chance, I just want to slack off and do nothing, use the money to live the high life as a wealthy lady, take a page from Xia Sui's book, and keep a few young men around for fun. 1. In my past life, I worked myself to death. After finding out about Xia Sui's affair, I was consumed by a bitter, seething hatred. I didn't sleep for 2 days and nights, meticulously crafting a detailed plan for revenge. First, I sidelined Xia Sui and seized control of most of the Xia family's empire. Then, I pushed through sweeping reforms that multiplied the value of my shares 4 or 5-fold. I crushed Xia Sui's mistress, Lin Yuma, and his son, Xie Jiahao, so thoroughly that they fled abroad, too terrified to return or even contact him. No one in the Xia family dared to challenge me, not even Xia Sui himself. I thought I had won. I was never able to conceive again due to health reasons, right up until I was 45. In an attempt to undergo IVF, I endured endless injections. Combined with my relentless, round-the-clock work schedule, my body finally gave out, and I died suddenly while on a business trip, before my remains were even laid to rest. Lin Yuma returned to the country with our son, Xia Sui. Along with her and Xie Jiahao, clung to each other and wept bitterly, as if they were the ones who had suffered the greatest wrong. My ashes and portrait were casually tossed into the trash heap. Watching Lin Yuma eagerly move in and Xie Jiahao take over my company, I finally realized my entire life had been spent toiling for the benefit of others. That night, as Lin Yuma and Xia Sui whispered sweet nothings in bed, she said to him with tearful eyes, "Darling, you've suffered for 20 years for my sake. I can't believe you secretly got a vasectomy for me and even schemed to make Su Lin Yu a slave away for our son. Thank you, my love, I adore you." Xia Sui kissed Lin Yuma's forehead. "Chia Chiao, I love you too. You've been with me since you were 20. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you, so that's why I could never get pregnant, no matter how hard I tried." Xia Sui had a vasectomy long ago. I couldn't tell if it was regret or fury I felt. Only that my whole life seemed like a cruel joke. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment Xia Sui laid his cards on the table. He had just returned from a business trip, still wearing the custom suit I had ordered for him, sitting on the sofa looking dashing and imposing. Xia Sui sighed. "Su Lin Yue, let's part on good terms. Lin Yuma is pregnant, even though it was just an accident. She's given me everything. I can't let her down. I'm going to marry her and keep the child. I'm afraid you'll have to bear the brunt of this. For the divorce, besides the $300 million in compensation, I'll also buy your shares at market price. The villa we live in now and the cars at home will all go to you. All these years, I've wronged you." To be fair, the terms Xia Sui offered were really quite generous. If you don't love this person, it's practically a win. But I met him when I was 18, and we married when I was 20. Xia Sui built his business from the ground up, and I was right there with him, helping manage the company. Later, when his parents got older and their health declined, I stepped back from work to take care of them at home. I never imagined Xia Sui would stab me in the back. He just had to hit me where it hurts the most. That's why, in my past life, I hated him with a passion, spending my entire existence plotting revenge against him. Now, staring at the face in the mirror, barely 30 years old, a faint weariness showed in the eyes and brows. The toll of cooking and managing the household for my in-laws. My clothes are a bit old and worn, a sign of how much I hate to see Xia Sui struggle to make ends meet. I just reek of a housewife from head to toe. My heart ached a little, feeling a pang of pity for myself. How did my life ever come to this? Why can't you just learn to enjoy life? Lost in thought, Xia Sui brought up the divorce again. He was growing impatient. Just as he was about to issue a warning, a cool, detached whine reached his ears. Xia Sui was taken aback. "What?" I said. "Fine, I agree to the divorce, and I agree to you buying back the shares at market price. Xia Sui, let's part on good terms." Perhaps stunned by my decisiveness, Xia Sui stared at me for a long moment. He left in a hurry, leaving behind only these words: "Good that you agree. I'll have my lawyer contact you tomorrow." I took a deep breath and turned around to see my in-laws on the second floor. They already knew about Lin Yuma's pregnancy and had come to see if I would make a scene. Seeing how resolute I was, they looked somewhat awkward. My mother-in-law gave a tight-lipped smile, turned my father-in-law's wheelchair around, and left without a word. I was left sitting alone in the living room, pondering the fact of my rebirth. 2. Xiaosui's secretary worked with remarkable efficiency. In just a week, Lin Yuma had the audacity to waltz right in. In my past life, Xiaosui, pitying her youth, kept her well protected. I rarely had any dealings with her, so much so that now, suddenly facing the 20-year-old Lin Yuma, I still feel an inexplicable resentment, but I try my best to hide it. I know all the blame lies with Xiaosui. Lin Yuma is just a fly that happened to land on him. She was surrounded by the Xia family like a precious treasure, and my mother-in-law, who had worn a cold expression for 10 years, smiled so kindly at someone for the first time. She kept feeding fruit to Lin Yuma, patting her belly with a look of grandmotherly contentment. I didn't go in to cause a scene and retreated back to the car, calling Xiaosui, "Send the secretary out. I'll sign the documents in the car. Since you've given me the villa, have your uncle and aunt move out tomorrow. I don't like having outsiders in my home. Transfer the money to my account first. We'll handle the equity transfer paperwork as soon as possible. And we'll go get the certificate right after that's done." Xiaosui was silent on the other end. After a long pause, he let out a scornful laugh. "You're certainly efficient. As if I'm the one who's after the money." I didn't take the bait. Picking a fight with him now was pointless. The priority was to get this matter settled as quickly as possible. Perhaps provoked by my attitude, or perhaps because Xiaosui didn't want Lin Yuma to suffer any further indignity, a month later, I received compensation totaling nearly 800 million and a divorce certificate. The moment I stepped out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I immediately listed the villa for sale online. Xiaosui had been following me. He grabbed my arm after I nearly stumbled. He actually looked a bit guilty. "Ling Yue, what are you going to do now?" I was busy trying to figure out the price of the villa and didn't catch what he said. What are you planning to do?" "Me?" I looked at him, puzzled. "I'm going to get a haircut and buy some new clothes. After all, a divorce is like a rebirth. Gotta celebrate, right?" Xiaosui was taken aback by my words, his expression turning a bit cold. "You're still as stubborn as ever, even though we can't be a couple, given that we've known each other. I still want to offer you a piece of advice. When I was young and struggling financially, I made a careless decision to be dink, completely unaware of what it truly meant. As my parents grew older and I achieved success in my career, I began to understand how important having children really is. I know you resent your father for his affair and your stepmother for her abuse, and that's why you're stuck in this mindset about not having children. But Rin, life is long. If you go your whole life without a child of your own, you'll be terribly lonely in your old age. I just don't want my parents to miss out on having a grandchild, and I don't want to be an unfilial son. That's why I chose to take responsibility for you, Ma. I hope you can understand." He rambled on for a while, and just then, the ride I had called arrived. I calmly pulled my hand away from his and got straight into the car. Then, just before the car pulled away, I flipped him the bird. "Xiaosui, just call it what it is, cheating. Don't try to dress it up as something noble. You can talk until you're blue in the face, but Lin Yuma is still the other woman, and that child of yours is still a bastard. Nothing you say will ever change that fact. I'm thrilled to be divorced, because I don't have to deal with you people and your mess anymore. May the bitch and the dog live happily ever after. Good riddance." 3. I gave Xiaosui a piece of my mind, and the divorce hasn't affected me one bit. Perhaps I used up all my love for him in a past life. Now that we're apart, it feels like cutting out a festering wound. Incredibly liberating. The day after we got our marriage certificate, I went to a high-end salon and got a perm, finally dyeing my hair with the highlights I'd always wanted. Then, in one go, I bought dozens of new outfits, completely revamping my entire wardrobe. Seeing the fresh, youthful version of myself in the mirror, I couldn't help but shed a few tears. "Su Linyue, you're actually this beautiful. You've been through so much all these years, with a cool 9 figures just sitting in the account, earning interest even if I do nothing. There's no rush to make money for the time being." After lying on the sofa for a while, I deleted Xiaosui, his parents, and relatives one by one, left all the family groups, and removed most of Xiaosui's friends. My contact list was finally clean. Scrolling through it, I came across my friend Song Miao, who runs a bar. After a moment's thought, I gave her a call. I'd been so caught up with family life and rarely reached out, so when I suddenly gave her a call, she was pretty surprised. "Hey, Mrs. Xia, what brings me to mind?" I smiled faintly. "Divorced. Don't call me Mrs. Xia anymore, Please call me Rich Lady Sue from now on. Holy shit, Song Miao exclaimed. Seriously, where are you? I'm coming to get you right now. The gossipy intention is obvious. Half an hour later, after hearing everything, Song Miao looked at me, hesitating to speak, her words caught in her throat. I quickly stopped her. Sis, don't feel sorry for me. I'm loaded now. Song Miao, you have a point. She wiped her face. So, sis, what are you thinking now? I smacked my lips. Well, ever since Xia Sui got together with Lin Yuma, it's been 2 years since I've had any action. You know a lot of people. Got any clean, fit, good-looking guys? Hook me up with a couple. 4. The moment I mentioned I was looking for a male model, Song Miao got really excited. In just half a day, several portfolios landed in my hands. My eyes were immediately drawn to Lu Yunxian, who had the most wholesome aura. It wasn't just his looks, his background was a factor too. He was actually a top student from University A. How could such an outstanding young man want to take a wrong turn in life? I raised an eyebrow and told Song Miao to bring the person to the hotel that evening. That night, in the presidential suite of the Xinghao Hotel, I met Lu Yunxian for the first time. He was 23, he was very tall, with even more handsome features than in the photos. His skin was slightly tanned, and there was a hint of defiance in his eyes. With years of interviewing experience under my belt, I could tell at a glance he was the quintessential good student. He stood there in a shirt and trousers, his body rigid with tension, his face a mask of shame. Pity I have no mercy in me. All I could think of was the feast to come. I walked over and lifted his chin with my finger. You are Lu Yunxian. Lu Yunxian let out a shy, hesitant His bashful demeanor delighted me. He was incredibly handsome. His eyes were clear, his lashes long and curled, his lips rosy. He looked every bit the captivating enchantress. I lifted his chin, forcing those deep, intense eyes to meet mine. Your asking price is 500,000. Frankly, that's quite steep. But I like you, and I'm willing to pay it. Whether you walk away with the full amount depends on your performance tonight. Lu Yunxian took a deep breath. Don't worry, sis, I'll make sure you're well taken care of tonight. His hands were trembling badly, and he was flushed from the tips of his ears all the way down his neck. When he kissed me, he was so inexperienced that his teeth scraped my lip. I couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. So pure, so innocent, so adorable. I turned and pinned him down, slowly undoing the buttons of his shirt one by one. You're in luck, little brother. It's my first time hiring a male model, and I don't have any particular tastes. It's been so long since I've had any meat. I want to comfort myself, to relieve some stress. After tonight, you'll get what you want. Lu Yunxian let out a low groan, his hand instinctively wrapping around my waist as we both surrendered to the moment. The next morning, I woke up feeling refreshed and clear-headed. While Lu Yunxian was still asleep, I left the card on the nightstand, gave his cheek one last kiss, and then got up to leave. In my decisive departure, I failed to notice the moment the door closed, when the man in the bed shed a tear. I never imagined I'd get entangled with Lu Yunxian again. 5. The second thing I plan to do after my rebirth is to invest in a few projects, leveraging my knowledge of the future. There's no end to making money, and I won't risk my life for it again. But investing in promising ventures and earning through equity, that's a different story. I tracked down Lin Weian, my former chief assistant who had been loyal to me in my past life. He was still toiling away at another company. So I poached him with a generous offer. When he heard we were looking for a project, Lin Weian grew hesitant. Boss Sue, I have absolutely no experience in this area. Why do you trust me? How could I explain it? That in my past life, even after I was gone, he fought tooth and nail to protect my interests, standing up to Xie Jiahao, or that it ultimately led to him being blacklisted from the industry, living a rough life, and refusing to bow to the Xie family even on his deathbed. I never gave Lin Weian much, just an annual salary of over $1 million, not even a company car, yet, his loyalty to me runs this deep. During my days as a wandering soul in the mortal realm, I've always felt guilty about this. I took a deep breath and started spinning a tale. Because of my innate spiritual power, I can see your immense potential. Just focus on finding people and projects. I'm not investing recklessly. We'll dive deeper only when something fits. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Only then did Lin Weian accept and start working in earnest. He's genuinely capable. In just a few days, he brought a project proposal to the table. This is a game developed by some of my university juniors. It was about to launch, but then a major company copied it and crushed them, leaving them barely able to survive. I've reviewed their underlying architecture. The fluidity and visual effects are completely different. The copycat can't compare. In fact, It seems their strategy is to suppress them first and then attempt an acquisition. If there's a chance to collaborate, I'm confident it could be profitable. Mr. Sue, would you be interested in taking a look? So it was that, after half a month apart, I saw Lu Yunqian again. This time, as investor and investee, Lu Yunqian showed up at the agreed-upon cafe in a somewhat cheap-looking suit. The moment he pushed the door open, his lips went deathly pale. His pupils contracted as he stared fixedly at me, as if gripped by utter terror. Soon, I understood why he was afraid, because trailing loosely behind him were 3 or 4 people, all calling out, "Mr. Lu, why aren't you moving?" A chill ran down Lu Yunqian's spine as he walked in, his movements stiff and unnatural. I said in a gentle tone, "Don't be afraid, Mr. Lu, I'm not going to bite." Lu Yunqian flushed from his ears all the way down his neck in an instant, thankfully. His burly subordinates were none the wiser. The project presentation went smoothly, and I was quite interested in the game-lost path that Lu Yunqian and his team were developing. Given time, it's bound to be profitable. He shot a glance at Lin Weian, who then passed over a contract. "This is the partnership structure our CEO, Mr. Su, has in mind. Please take a look. We propose an investment of 5 million for a 40% stake in your company. Future profit distributions will be handled through the dividend allocation process. This is just a preliminary draft. Feel free to take it back, discuss it internally, and we can move forward once you've made a decision." Lu Yunqian looked me over carefully, saying nothing. I figured they probably needed to discuss things, so I got up and excused myself to the restroom. When I came out, I found Lu Yunqian waiting outside the door. "Six." He looked utterly mortified. Nene called out to me, "Sis, me." Thank you for today, I knew what he was about to say and cut him off decisively. "I don't know why you left your stable job to start a business back then, but seeing how well you built this project, you must be a good person. Rest assured, let's just put what happened between us behind us. From today on, we are just business partners. Take the investment, do a good job, and just make sure to send me a healthy share of the dividends in the future. That's all I ask. From now on, Lin Weian will handle all company liaisons. I won't bother you, and I certainly won't cling to you. You just focus on being President Lu. I'm not a particularly physical person, and I especially dislike getting romantically involved with someone who can help me make money." Lu Yunqian is handsome, sure, but there are plenty of men out there as long as you have money. There's no need to let this cause a conflict. After Su Linhua left, Lu Yunqian was lost in thought for a long time. He had initially taken a wrong turn out of desperation to fund his grandmother's heart surgery, only to fall into despair upon discovering this person was actually his investor. He was terrified that his shameful deeds would be exposed, branding him with infamy for life. To his surprise, Su Linhua said indifferently that she wouldn't cling to him. For a moment, Lu Yunqian's heart was filled with a bitter, sour ache, an indescribable turmoil of emotions. 7. After finalizing the investment in Lu Yunqian's project, I went ahead and got Lin Weian a company car and leased an office space, putting him in charge of day-to-day operations. As for me, I decided it was time for a little getaway. Talk about rotten luck. I randomly picked a beach to visit, and who do I run into but Lin Yuma and Xie Sui. They'd already tied the knot, thrown a huge wedding banquet. And now everyone in Xie Sui's circle sees me as a laughingstock. Lin Yuma must have gotten the location wrong too, which led to us running into each other face to face. She looked rather smug about it, covering her lower abdomen with a smug look. She said, "Oh, if it isn't Sister Linhua, long time no see. How have you been? Traveling all alone? Couldn't find a man to come with you?" I couldn't be bothered to give her the time of day. My mind was completely occupied with figuring out where to go have fun next. Xie Sui's gaze kept wandering over me from the side. After 10 years of marriage, I instantly recognized that look of unconcealed astonishment in his eyes. Then again, Xie Sui was never a decent man to begin with. Since becoming pregnant, Lin Yuma had probably been overdoing the supplements, while her complexion remained fair. Her whole body had become quite swollen. As for me, in my slip dress with voluminous waves, every inch from my face to my nails screamed meticulous, high-maintenance glamour. Forget Xie Sui. I'd been sitting here for barely 15 minutes and already 5 or 6 guys had come over to hit on me and ask for my number. Naturally, he couldn't help but be drawn in. After adding yet another college guy's contact, Xie Sui, who had just seen Lin Yuma back to her room, finally hurried over. He stood in my way with a displeased look on his face. "Su Linhua, what are you doing?" "Me, huh, they were hitting on you. Why did you go along with it?" "Of course I like it. If I like it, I'm obviously going to say yes." "You," Xie Sui flushed red, his words gritted out between clenched teeth, "you're divorced." How can you be so casual about this? I almost laughed, pressing a finger to my temple. Mr. Xia, I'm afraid I don't follow your logic. Being divorced means I'm single and free. Why shouldn't I look for a man? You seem awfully worked up, Mr. Xia. What? Do you want to get in line too? Ha, unfortunately, I have no interest in rotten cucumbers. You're not qualified. Hurry back and take care of your little pregnant wife. You're a father now. You shouldn't keep thinking about doing such shameless things. As soon as I finished speaking, a guy wearing swim trunks and a tank top walked up to me. Miss, you look lovely. Would you care to join me for some sun at the beach? 8. Xia Sui didn't get up to return to his room until Su Linyue's figure had vanished from sight. By the time he reached the door, Xia Sui was still lost in thought. Lin Yuma was already awake, sulking on the sofa. Seeing Xia Sui enter, she immediately asked in a cold, sharp voice, Sui, where have you been? Were you off looking for that little tramp? Xia Sui was stunned for a moment before it dawned on him that he and Su Linyue were already divorced. The pregnant woman standing before him was now his new wife. He couldn't help but feel a pang of regret. The person before him, somewhat bloated with a fierce glare, was unbelievably unattractive. Xia Sui distinctly remembered that he had pursued Lin Yuma precisely because she was stunningly hot, gentle, considerate, and spoke with a soft, sweet voice, completely different from Su Linyue, who was always busy with chores and never bothered to dress up. How did she become so unattractive in just a few short months? Xia Sui couldn't suppress his growing irritation. His mind was completely occupied by Su Linyue, who had left with another man. After the divorce, Su Linyue had transformed into a captivating beauty, with her fair skin and voluptuous curves. Few men could resist her allure. She's out for a walk with that man, and after the walk, what then? Dinner, a kiss, something more intimate. Xia Sui felt a surge of jealousy so intense it was like his heart was pickling in vinegar. It was utterly maddening. Lin Yuma, sitting on the sofa, was no stranger to these matters. How could she miss Xia Sui's distracted state? She immediately thought of his recent encounter with Su Linyue and knew he was almost certainly regretting it. Furious, her head buzzing with rage, she grabbed an ashtray and hurled it at him. The hard glass struck Xia Sui's foot with a sharp, throbbing pain. Xia Sui could no longer hold back and exploded. What the hell are you doing? Are you out of your mind? Lin Yuma rushed over and slapped him twice. Hard, that's right. I'm the crazy one, carrying your child while I watch you flirt with your ex-wife. Xia Sui, I'm carrying the precious heir to your Xia family. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have gotten pregnant so young. How can you treat me like this, being so unfaithful? You shameless old bastard. The moment the words old bastard were uttered, Xia Sui's face grew even darker. He took a deep breath, and his demeanor towards Lin Yuma was anything but gentle. An aura of authority instantly radiated from him, bearing down on her as he said, Lin Yuma, think carefully about what you're saying. There are plenty of women who'd want to have my child. If you're unwilling, you're free to get rid of it. I, Xia Sui, won't force you. With that, he turned and walked away. Lin Yuma panicked and tried to run after him, but stumbled and fell to the ground. Something warm began to seep out. She cried out in pain for Xia Sui, but he never once looked back. 8. I took a 2-hour stroll along the beach with Meng Huai. The young man had a silver tongue, and his sweet words kept a smile on my face. He insisted on taking my picture, showering me with compliments the whole time and saying I looked like a fairy. To return the emotional favor, I gave Meng Huai an LV bracelet. He was over the moon, and on the way back, he sweet-talked me into posting it on my social media. You're so gorgeous, sis, you've gotta show it off a little. Really, seems fine to me. So, following Meng Huai's advice, I posted a few live photos. When we got to the hotel entrance, Meng Huai kept insisting on walking me up to my room. That whiny tone of his was really getting on my nerves. I'm not too keen on people with questionable backgrounds, it just feels a bit off. I just hinted at it without going into detail. Meng Huai, be a dear, I'm a bit tired, let's catch up another time. The tone was gentle, but the eyes held no warmth. Sensible as he was, Meng Huai understood my meaning right away. With a hint of reluctant resignation, he settled for the next best thing and asked for my contact information. Back at the hotel, I had just changed my shoes when Lu Yunqian's call came through. His voice was low, carrying a subtle, almost imperceptible magnetism. Jia. Huh, did you go to see the sea by yourself? Me, yeah. There was no response from the other end. Not wanting to sour our professional relationship, I said, Mr. Lu, what brings you to call so late? If it's a company matter, you can liaise with Weiyan. He's more familiar with the details. Lu Yunqian cut in. No, it's not about the company. He took a deep breath. It's that I wanted to see you. The kind between a man and a woman. I licked my lips, reason and desire warring within me. Lu Yunqian, do you know what you're saying? You said it yourself, you didn't want anyone to know you slept with me. I know. Lu Yunqian's voice grew even lower. I know exactly what I'm doing, sis. I really want to see you. Is that okay? Well, to be honest, I'm kind of into him too. Lu Yunqian might be on the slender side, but he's got a great body, and since he was my first, it's a little hard to forget, I guess so. But right now, I'm in Beihai, and you can't exactly get here. The next second, there was a knock at the door. Lu Yunqian's voice came through the phone. Open the door, sis. 9. It's hard to describe how surreal it feels for a woman in her 30s to open the door and find the young man she likes standing there. All I remember is the moment I saw Lu Yunqian. I just threw myself forward, leapt into his arms, completely overcome with emotion. He held me just as tightly, the muscles in his arms, locked around me, were burning hot. His thin lips pressed against my ear, his tongue tracing the shell of it. Sis, I miss you so much. I really, really miss you. He had me so breathless and flustered, I could barely make out his words. I just tilted my head up and kissed him. Over 4 hours later, as we soaked in the bathtub, we finally had a moment to talk. I asked him, what brought you here? Lu Yunqian paused, sounding a bit sullen. I saw your WeChat moments. I was worried you'd found someone new. Oh, that's right. I just remembered the live photo Meng Huai took this afternoon. It probably recorded his voice. I tapped to listen, and sure enough, there were several calls of Jia Jia. I couldn't help but laugh. And that's what brought you running over here. Lu Yunqian buried his face in the crook of my neck. He murmured. I don't want you to have a new little brother. For a moment, I was at a loss for words. After all, I was just looking for a bedmate, not a relationship. I had no choice but to gently push his head away. Looking him straight in the eye, I said seriously, Lu Yunqian, there's something I need to tell you. I just got divorced. Faced with this big, wide world, it's hard to imagine being with just one guy. He's dealt with Lin Weiyan for so long, he probably knows all about my situation. I just got divorced, ending a 10-year relationship with the man I loved. I can't possibly fall for someone else so quickly, especially someone 7 years my junior. After a long pause, Lu Yunqian said, I'm not asking for any kind of commitment. I just like you and want a fair shot. He looked at me, his gaze so intense it felt like it could sear my heart. I couldn't bring myself to say anything hurtful, so I just patted his head. The only promise I can make is that when I'm with you, I won't be with any other man. 10. Even though I had phrased it gently, Lu Yunqian still took it as a sign of hope. He returned to the company and transferred another 20% of the shares into my name. His explanation for this was that adults should use money to show their sincerity. I didn't argue. No one in their right mind turns down money, and I'm not exactly a saint anyway. Lu Yunqian is truly exceptional at running the company. The moment Lost Path launched, its daily active users surpassed 10 million, with in-app purchase revenue exceeding $1 billion. In just a few short months, those university students who started the venture became the hottest new success stories. As the company's founder, Lu Yunqian's personal fortune soared alongside its success. The company held a celebration banquet, and as an investor, I was seated at the head table. Lu Yunqian sat beside me, and next to him was his grandmother, who had recently recovered from a serious illness. She kept talking to me. And that's when I found out he had sold himself for 500,000 just to cover his grandmother's medical bills. I should have realized it sooner. Someone that exceptional wouldn't have sold his body unless it was a matter of life and death. For the first time since my rebirth, I felt a pang of guilt. If only I had asked one more question, I could have spared a good man his dignity. Yet, for my own selfish gain, I utterly destroyed him. I couldn't sit still any longer, even regretting why I ever got entangled with Lu Yunqian. Even if Lu Yunqian doesn't blame me now, what if he regrets it later? Would he come to see me as a thorn in his side, just like Xia Sui? Would I have to engage in another battle of wits? I'm just too exhausted to fight anymore. Having lived 2 lives, all I want is to coast along, to have simple relationships, and to just be happy. As I watched Lu Yunqian finish his speech and step off the stage, I got up and left without a second thought. With a cold expression, I said to Lin Weiyan, something's come up, I have to go, you handle the rest. Then, I strode quickly out of the banquet hall. I had just reached the elevator lobby when Lu Yunqian caught up to me. He flustered, are you mad at me, sis? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have forced you to meet Grandma. I was wrong. Let's just go home, okay? Please, let's go home. I stared fixedly at that youthful face. Ever since the company began its steady growth, Lu Yunqian had been carrying himself more and more like a true boss. Even Lin Weian said that Lu Yunqian was improving at an astonishing rate, his presence growing stronger by the day. I let out a sigh, hearing the cold detachment in my own voice. Lu Yunqian, it's over between us. Lu Yunqian stood there, stunned. Why, we're not right for each other, I said firmly. I told you from the start we should have kept it strictly professional. Now that your business is taking off and you can stand on your own 2 feet, we should end things here. Lu Yunqian, however, had gotten the wrong idea. I know my worth isn't enough right now, sister, just give me a little more time. I promise I'll build up the wealth to truly match you. His body trembled violently. The longer I watched, the more guilty I felt inside. It's not fair to him, someone so sincere and wonderful, ending up with me, with someone as broken and scarred as I am. He deserves a younger, more vibrant girl to walk life's path with him. I took half a step back, creating distance. I said to Lu Yunqian with utmost seriousness, no, thank you. Even if you end up richer than me someday, I would never date a boyfriend who started out as a male model. Lu Yunqian, even though your little venture into the private sector is a secret between us, in my book, you'll never get a chance, not ever. 11. The words had barely left his mouth. Lu Yunqian's face drained of all color. A chill lingered around me, unyielding. After a long silence, I finally heard him say, I understand, Miss Su, my apologies for the offense. He turned and left immediately, his swift departure tearing at my heart. Pressing a hand to my aching heart, I felt a bitter laugh rising within me. How strange, to have lived nearly 70 or 80 years, and still be wounded by love. Tilt your head back, forcing the tears to recede, letting them carve a cold trail through your heart. Su Linyue, one shouldn't stumble over the same stone twice. You need to look ahead. I've started making preparations to move abroad. While I was briefing Lin Weian on the company handover, Lin Yuma actually sought me out and told me she was getting a divorce. I looked at the woman before me, who had visibly lost weight, and was momentarily at a loss for words. Lin Yuma, however, had plenty to get off her chest. She mainly wanted to blame me for wrecking her marriage. She began, you know what, I had a miscarriage, and it's all your fault. If you hadn't seduced my husband at the hotel that day. I raised my hand to stop her. Hold on, Ms. Lin Yuma, you came to see me just for this. Yes, I'm going to make you see just how despicable and low you really are. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and walked out. Oh, I don't want to hear it. I'm leaving. Lin Yuma was left standing there, utterly bewildered. Not long after, she called again, Su Linyue, who do you think you are? Acting so carefree, you goddamn. I slammed the phone down with a thud and blocked the number. So damn annoying, not a single word worth hearing. My time is far too precious to waste on scum like that. No way. Before going abroad, I had Lin Weian transfer most of Lu Yunqian's company shares back to him, keeping only 10% for myself. Perhaps my actions were too decisive, because Lu Yunqian finally caught on. He started calling me frantically, so I blocked him right away. Just before takeoff, my stomach churned with nausea. I spent ages in the bathroom throwing up, feeling terribly dizzy. An older woman saw me like this and said, sweetheart, you're not pregnant, are you? It was only then I remembered my period was long overdue. I got someone to buy a pregnancy test. Staring at those 2 glaring red lines, my mind went completely blank. It's not that I don't like children, on the contrary, I feel the responsibility of raising a child is too great. I'm afraid she might be unhappy like me, afraid she might suffer. And that's why I didn't want her to come into this world. That night, things got really heated with Lu Yunqian. Thinking it was a safe period, we didn't use any contraception. As fate would have it, when you try too hard, it doesn't work out. I, who had planned to be child-free, ended up with a child of my own. I only hesitated for a few seconds before decisively choosing to keep the child and cut the father out of the picture. Since we'll be living abroad anyway, we could have a child in secret. No one would ever know. 12. I never imagined Xie Sui would come after me. Somehow, he found out I'd gone abroad and flew straight to my villa. As soon as they saw me sunbathing, they rushed right over to me. Rin, I finally found you. I looked at him. Oh, what do you want? Xie Sui was agitated. I divorced Lin Yuma. She accidentally lost the baby, so there's no reason for us to stay together. I didn't understand. You can try for another. She's still young. She can definitely have children. Xie Sui let out a frustrated grunt. She doesn't deserve it. Ling Yue, I've only just realized it now. It's still you that I love. You have no idea how chaotic things have been since you left. Dad's health has been failing, and Mom is always sighing in despair. Our whole family is lost without you. Rin, please, won't you come home? To be honest, I've heard bits and pieces about the Xie family's situation during this divorce period. Mr. and Mrs. Xia spoiled Lin Yuma rotten, and she took full advantage of it. She turned the whole household upside down. The old couple's health was never great to begin with. All that turmoil must have shaved years off their lives. After the long-awaited grandson was gone, they found Lin Yuma even more grating and were even more determined to drive her out. But what does any of that have to do with me? I'm not some desperate fool. I smiled, placed a hand on my stomach, and said, Xia Sui, you're too late. I'm pregnant. Xia Sui was taken aback. Whose kid is it? Some pretty boy's. No, I paid for it. Unwilling to say more, she directly showed him the door. Don't come back. There's no chance of us getting back together. Xia Sui still wouldn't give up. No. Ling Yue, you could terminate the pregnancy. We can have our own child, he stated with absolute conviction. Yes, we'll have our own. We'll have 3, to inherit the family legacy. We've been together for 10 years anyway. We're like family to each other now. No one knows each other better than we do. Me, Xia Sui, if you're out of your mind, go get it treated. Don't come here and lose your shit on me. I never realized before just how selfish this person could be. How could they even consider ending a life? I can't be bothered with them anymore. Tell security not to let them in again. I went back inside, seething with anger. A few months later, Lin Weian sent me a message saying that Lu Yunqian had gotten a girlfriend. Their relationship was progressing quickly, and they might be getting engaged soon. When I heard the news, a heavy gloom settled in my heart. That anguish sank from my heart down into my belly, finally stirring the child that was full term. After a night of pain, I finally held in my arms the child who was of my own flesh and blood, completely and utterly mine. 13. I named my daughter Sul, which means peace and happiness. She has Lu Yunqian's eyes, but her nose and mouth look like mine. She's also a very easygoing child. The year Lei turned 5, I had to return to China for a company matter. I had told Lin Weian to stop giving me updates on Lu Yunqian, but it was almost certain he was a married man now. To avoid causing him any trouble, I deliberately set the meeting in West City, nearly 100 miles from South City. Yet, the moment I stepped into the hotel lobby, there he was, Lu Yunqian, arm in arm with a woman. He looked more mature and handsome than before, dressed in a black overcoat that turned heads as he passed. I hid in a corner, not daring to make a sound, because on the other end of the phone was my daughter, calling on video. I had originally planned to wait until Lu Yunqian finished the paperwork before I went over. But wouldn't you know it, the moment I turned around, our eyes met. His eyes, now deeper and more profound than before, swept over me with an inscrutable gaze. After a long pause, he said, Mr. Su, it's been a long time. He then gestured to the woman beside him and said, This is my girlfriend, Qin Wan. This is Mr. Su, a shareholder in our company. The woman named Qin Wan gave me a graceful nod in greeting, yet, there wasn't a trace of hostility in the way he looked at me. My heart ached for just a few seconds, and then, inexplicably, I felt a wave of relief. I've always remembered the promise I made to Lu Yunqian back then. On top of that, I've been so busy raising the kids these past few years that I never really gave this matter much thought. Now that he's moved on, I suppose it's time for me to start looking for someone new. With a complex mix of emotions, I said my goodbyes to Lu Yunqian and Qin Wan, lost in thought. I didn't notice, after the elevator doors closed, Qin Wan looked at the man beside her with confusion. Mr. Lu, why did you say I was your girlfriend? Lu Yunqian stared at the closed elevator doors and said nothing. As sharp as he was, he certainly didn't miss the fleeting look of relief that crossed Su Lingyue's face. That expression ignited a boundless fury within him. For 5 years, he had been trapped in the mire, yet Su Lingyue remained completely oblivious. She was even happy that he had found someone. Lu Yunqian clenched his fists involuntarily, fighting the urge to rush forward and strangle that heartless woman. 14. I went back to my room and started packing my things. My daughter will be here any minute now. I absolutely cannot let her run into Lu Yunqian. Lei is practically a mini version of Lu Yunqian, if he ever saw him. He wouldn't need a DNA test to know the kid is his. I picked up my suitcase, thinking of switching hotels, and ran into another old acquaintance in the elevator. When Meng Hui saw me, a flicker of surprise passed through his eyes. Oh, hey, long time no see. Me, long time no see. He sidled up next to me, clearly intending to tag along. Me, while I was thinking about finding someone new. A playboy like him is more trouble than I can handle. I was just trying to think of an excuse to get him to leave, but Meng Hui was annoyingly persistent, following me all the way to the underground parking lot and even trying to get into the passenger seat. Just as his hand touched the car door, a dark figure emerged, grabbed him by the collar, and yanked him backward. Meng Hui cried out in shock, "Who's there?" Lu Yunqian's face was as sour as vinegar. None of your business. I have matters to discuss with President Su. Get lost. Meng Huai was utterly confused. He wanted to charge forward, but was stopped cold by the look on Lu Yunqian's face. Only after Meng Huai had stormed off, cursing under his breath, did I turn my gaze to Lu Yunqian. Mr. Lu, what? What's the meaning of this? You have a girlfriend. What's the deal with you chasing off the men around me with that jealous look on your face? Lu Yunqian remained silent. Seeing him acting like this, I started to feel annoyed too. I specifically chose this godforsaken place for the meeting just to avoid causing him any trouble. Running into him was bad enough, but then he had to pick a fight with my people. What gives Lu Yunqian the right to keep causing a scene over and over? I couldn't be bothered to talk to him anymore. I walked to the driver's door and was just about to pull it open when someone's hand shot out to block it. Lu Yunqian's tall frame loomed over me, pressing down as he lowered his head to my neck and kissed me hard, tearing, biting. His scorching lips and tongue churned inside my mouth, instantly scrambling my senses. Just as I was about to speak, Lu Yunqian's hand slipped inside my clothes. My mind buzzed and then exploded. I couldn't help but let out a muffled groan. Just when I thought everything was about to spiral out of control, he suddenly stopped. He buried his face in the crook of my neck and wept. 15. His scalding tears traced a path down my collar and onto my skin, stirring a strange sense of guilt within me. No, why are you crying again? He was the one who forced the kiss on me. Lu Yunqian held me in a death grip, sobbing and crying. Sis, is it that no matter what I do, you're just not willing to give me a chance? It's not fair. I only worked as a male model once, but that guy just now is a male escort. You'd rather talk to him than pay any attention to me. Why, you were my first, and there's no one else in my heart. Why won't you give me a chance? My voice was hoarse. Don't you have a girlfriend? His big head shook back and forth, and he held me tighter. I was lying. I wanted to see you get jealous, but you didn't react at all. Me, Lu Yunqian sat up slightly, his eyes red-rimmed as he looked at me. Sis, can't you just look at me? I've really tried so hard. The company's annual revenue is in the 9 figures now. I bought a house, a car, and invested in several projects. I know you don't like people who play the field. I've kept myself clean all these years, just waiting for you to come back to me. Since you're looking for a man, could you give me a chance? Sis, I've missed you so much. I felt a pang of guilt. I really did. Seeing her crying her heart out like that made my own heart ache. I couldn't bring myself to say another harsh word. My tone softening instead. Alright, I'll give you a chance. Truth is, there hasn't been anyone else for me all these years either. Surprise exploded in Lu Yunqian's eyes. He took a deep breath and moved to embrace me. I held him off and handed him my phone. Since we're doing this for real, there's something I have to tell you. What? I had a child. Half the genes are yours. Lu Yunqian froze, taking a long moment to process what that meant. He smacked his lips, unable to speak. I pulled out a photo of Lele and showed it to him. She's 5 this year, and she looks a lot like you. She's on her way here, so you'll get to meet her in a bit. The pregnancy was an accident, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you. If you're upset about it, I can make it up to you. A stunned Lu Yunqian finally stirred. How exactly would you do that? I shrugged. Take your pick, my charms or my money. He took a deep breath, lost in thought. After a long moment, he suddenly let out a soft, wry chuckle. Ha, the woman I like really is something else. Now I see what I've been so hung up on all these years. Why I've been obsessed with you. Su Linue, you're incredible. I've never met a woman as free-spirited as you. He lowered his head and bit my neck, the thick scent of blood filling the air. From now on, you heartless woman, you belong to me. I looked into those crimson eyes, shimmering with a strange, feverish excitement that left me feeling unsettled. I wanted to laugh. And I wanted to scream. She tilted her head up and kissed him directly. Lu Yunqian, I'm giving you a chance to win me over. Whether this lasts or not depends entirely on you. The END . Side story. In my 3rd year back in Nanjing, I ran into Xia Sui again at a cocktail party. At the time, his company was suffering massive losses due to poor management and was hoping a major deal would turn things around. And the client for that major deal was none other than the company I ran. When I saw Xia Sui approaching with a drink, I was taken aback for a moment and couldn't help but feel a little amused. He probably felt embarrassed too, clearing his throat before saying, Lingyue, long time no see. I replied, yeah, it's been a while. I turned to leave. Xia Sui grabbed my arm. Could you give me that contract? He had the nerve to just ask for it, like it was nothing. I let out a bitter laugh, staring at him in disbelief. Xia Sui, what makes you think I'd just hand over $100 million deal to you? He took a breath. After all, we were married once. there should still be some affection between us. Sentiment. Ha ha ha, that's a good one, Mr. Xia. Surely you haven't forgotten that you were the one who cheated on me. I just couldn't be bothered to make a fuss about it. But that doesn't mean I forgot. Xia Sui was caught off guard and paused awkwardly. That was so long ago. Besides, Lin Yuma and I are already divorced. As if remembering something, he said, oh, that's right. I heard the president of the Su group is single, so that means you're still on your own, raising the child by yourself. Ling Yue, what do you think about this? I'm single too. After all, let's get married, merge our companies, and build something great together. It's a win-win, isn't it? I had no idea how his thought process had gotten so twisted. I couldn't even be bothered to respond. But Xia Sui was just getting started. He grabbed my arm, eager to keep talking. Just then, Lu Yunqian walked over, wrapped an arm around me, and planted a loud kiss on my cheek. Just as I'd hoped, I saw Xia Su's body go rigid. Lu Yunqian looked at him with amusement. What are you saying to my girlfriend? President Xia, mind if I listen in? Xia Su was left utterly speechless. I couldn't help but smile at the sour look on his face. To soothe him, I gave his hand a gentle squeeze, only for him to immediately tighten his grip and interlock our fingers. Can't take my eyes off you for a second. The moment I look away, the flies start swarming. Honestly, this guy, I couldn't resist leaning in to give him a kiss. Lu Yunqian finally looked a little pleased. Seizing the moment, I said, let's go. Lele is waiting for us at home. Alright, let's go. A few months later, I heard that the Xia family business had finally gone bankrupt. Xia Sui sold his house to pay off his debts and took his parents back to their hometown. Before leaving, he even came to the Su residence hoping to see me, but I completely ignored him. Xia Sui waited downstairs for a long time before finally leaving. Dejected. Story 2. My left leg was amputated. When the car accident happened, I pushed Shen Linchuan away. He was unharmed, but my left leg was caught in the wheels. In order to repay the favor, he married me who was in a wheelchair. We have been married for more than 10 years, accompanying each other and moving forward hand in hand. Although there are occasional ups and downs in life, I consider myself to have a stable and happy life. It was not until I died of respiratory failure caused by chronic myelitis that he sat in front of my grave and babbled. He said, you lost your left leg to save me. I was also imprisoned in a self-imposed prison and forced to stay by your side for more than 10 years. Now that you're dead, I'm finally free. In this life, we're even with each other. If there's an afterlife, we'll be miles apart and never see each other again. After saying that, he lit our marriage certificate in front of the grave. 3 months later, he remarried in a high-profile manner and hosted a banquet for guests from all over. I know the bride, she is Lin Muxue. His former first love. After exchanging rings, he hugged the woman tightly in his arms and said with a choked voice, over the years, you and our daughter have suffered so much. When I opened my eyes again, I returned to the day of the car accident, given a second chance at life. This time, I choose to respect his wish. 1. The dazzling summer sunlight made my eyes ache. The steaming heat from the ground seeped up from my calves, feeling so real that it made my heart tremble. I subconsciously lowered my head. When my gaze touched my intact left leg under the skirt, my emotions got out of control in an instant. It had been so long, so very long, since I last had the feeling of standing firmly on the ground. Beside me, the man who was quickly replying to a message on his phone raised his head in surprise and looked at me. Seeing me in tears, he was taken aback and asked nervously, what's wrong? Why are you suddenly crying for no reason? I slowly raised my tearful eyes. Through the hazy mist of tears, I looked at the man in front of me. Shen Linchuan at the age of 22 was really good-looking. He was full of youthful vitality, with his eyebrows and eyes relaxed, and his eyes clear and bright, without the exhaustion and depression that would later seep into the depths of his eyes. I had almost forgotten. It turned out that before we got married, he was so full of ambition and vitality. Shen Linchuan noticed my scrutiny, and his handsome eyebrows furrowed slightly. This imperceptible change made my heart suddenly tighten. In my previous life, whenever he thought I was being unreasonable, he would always look down at me coldly with this expression. I felt desperate and guilty. He raised his hand to wipe the tears from my face and sighed. Are you still angry about me getting into a fight and being sent to the detention center? I've explained it to you many times. That bastard was trying to molest Muxue, so I smashed a wine bottle on his head in a fit of anger. In that situation, who wouldn't? I took a step back to avoid his touch and interrupted him calmly. You don't need to explain to me. This matter has nothing to do with me anyway. It's your freedom to decide who you want to save. The expression on Shen Linchuan's face went blank for a moment, and the rest of his words got stuck in his throat. After a long while, his voice was tense, and he frowned as he asked me, What do you mean by that? I looked down at my intact left leg again and replied calmly, it means exactly what it says. By the way, the compensation money I paid for you just now, plus the medical expenses for the injured person that I advanced for you before, amounts to a total of 170 yuan. That was the money I saved from my part-time jobs to pay off my student loans. Please return it to me as soon as possible. 2. In my previous life, when I learned that Shen Linchuan had been detained for fighting, I thought there was something wrong with my ears at first. He was always a gentle and polite student union cadre, a model student praised by the teachers. He had never even had a heated argument with anyone. How could he get into a fight with street hooligans and even end up in the police station? Later, after I paid the compensation money for him and completed the formalities, I picked him up. But when I saw the man in front of me clearly, I was so shocked that I froze in place. He was in a sorry state, with a bruised cheek, a piece of his right sleeve torn off, and scabbed wounds on his hands. This appearance was completely different from the Shen Linchuan I had known for 3 years in college. When he saw me, he explained to me in a flustered manner, Mu Xue and her friend were in a bar and were harassed by a drunk hooligan. The man was acting drunk and pressed her on the sofa, trying to molest her forcefully. Li Qing and I happened to pass by. We couldn't just stand by and watch, could we? I was curious why he would suddenly go to a bar with his friend, but he had always been sincere and enthusiastic, so I didn't doubt his words too much. Although we were lovers, we also maintained our own space and freedom in our daily lives. In that situation, even if they weren't classmates, it was only right to stand up and rescue the molested girl. What's more, I also knew Lin Muxue. She was Shen Linchuan and Li Cheng's high school classmate. Now she was in the same university as us, majoring in music performance at the School of the Arts. Although I didn't have much contact with her, in my impression, she was good-looking and graceful, and I had a good impression of her. However, Shen Linchuan's way of saving her by directly smashing a wine bottle on the hooligan's head was a bit too extreme. Fortunately, the case was finally settled through mediation. Otherwise, Shen Linchuan would really have gone to jail. The only thing that made me feel strange was that when the police handled the case, they didn't mention the key plot of the hooligan's attempted molestation of Lin Muxue. They only classified the incident as a simple fight. It wasn't until many years later that I accidentally learned the truth of what happened that year from Shen Linchuan's group of friends. 3. That was 2 months before my death. Li Qing, Shen Linchuan's best friend and also our college classmate, held a housewarming party after moving into his new villa. Naturally, Shen Linchuan took me with him. I was already in a very bad state at that time. The nerve pain caused by chronic myelitis tormented me day and night. In addition, I also suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, and my spirit was in a state of high alert. I was prone to getting emotional and didn't get along well with the people around me, so when everyone was chatting warmly, feeling that I couldn't fit in, I went to the back garden of the villa alone. The moonlight was slightly cold, like a layer of thin frost sprinkled on the blooming tulips. I quietly sat on the rattan chair beside the flower tree, unconsciously rubbing my left leg with the prosthetic limb, just as I was in a daze, looking up and counting the sparse bright stars in the sky. The window on the first floor of the villa was suddenly opened. The warm yellow light from inside the house spilled out. The laughter of several men, mixed with the click sound of lighters, also reached my ears. Linchuan, how can you stand Su Yuning's aloof personality? Can't she even smile? Her face has been cold all night, making it seem like my wife and I have neglected her. I remember she wasn't like this in college. This was the voice of Li Qing, the host of today's housewarming party. Shen Linchuan said something in a low voice, probably apologizing for me. Another male voice interjected, come on, there are many disabled people in this world, but I've never seen a few people as self-centered as her. Don't get me wrong, bro, I'm not mocking you, but you've really made a bad choice in this life. Su Yuning looks at least 20 years older than you. I was really scared by her appearance just now. Is it worth it for you to give up Lin Muxue for such a woman? Someone else chimed in, yeah, I think Brother Shen must have lost his mind. He and Lin Muxue were recognized as the perfect couple in our high school. Even the dean turned a blind eye. Now he's giving up an excellent woman like Muxue for a disabled woman like Su Yuning who's missing a limb. He's really being foolish. The night wind carried a faint smell of cigarettes into my nostrils. In the darkness, I looked at the man standing by the window. The cigarette in his hand flickered on and off. But he didn't say a word. Li Qing flicked the ash off his cigarette and suddenly sighed. You guys should stop talking too much. Don't forget that it was Lin Muxue who betrayed Linchuan first. After she entered university, she got together with that senior who drove a luxury car. Otherwise, Linchuan wouldn't have found Su Yuning. who looked 6 or 7 points like Lin Muxue, as a substitute, and now he's stuck with her for a lifetime, after taking a deep drag on his cigarette. He extinguished the cigarette but in the ashtray. Also, if it weren't for you guys meddling in the middle and encouraging Lin Muxue to get back together with Lin Chuan after her breakup, she wouldn't have gone to the bar and deliberately fooled around with that hooligan after being rejected, and she wouldn't have deliberately sent photos to Lin Chuan. In the end, Lin Chuan was so angry that he smashed the hooligan's head with a wine bottle and ended up in the police station. Fortunately, Su Yining was busy running around. She not only invited a lawyer friend to help with the mediation but also paid the compensation money for Lin Chuan. Otherwise, Lin Chuan would definitely have gone to jail. After Li Qing finished speaking, there was a moment of silence among everyone. Finally, someone said, why bring up those old things? Even if she has a huge debt of gratitude, Brother Shen has married her. Isn't the debt already repaid? I was in the dark, and my throat seemed to be suddenly choked tightly. The inner collapse came like a tsunami. So that's how it was. Later, from their intermittent conversation, I finally pieced together the complete truth of what happened. Lin Muxue and Shen Linchuan were each other's first love. The boy was excellent, and the girl was beautiful. Everyone said that they were like the male and female protagonists in a youth novel. But after entering university, Lin Muxue met a senior who drove a Ferrari. On the day of their breakup, Shen Linchuan was in a daze and got himself dead drunk. He waited downstairs in Lin Muxue's dormitory for 3 days but didn't get an explanation from the girl. However, less than a year later, Lin Muxue's relationship with the senior ended in a breakup. After that, Lin Muxue began to contact Shen Linchuan frequently, wanting to get back together with him. At that time, Shen Linchuan and I had already officially established a romantic relationship. But she didn't plan to give up. She would buy breakfast in the cafeteria every day and then wait downstairs in the boys' dormitory. She would put the love letters she wrote into a beautiful envelope with a faint fragrance and ask Li Qing to put them in Shen Linchuan's school bag. She persisted for a year, but the man still didn't turn back, until her birthday. She specially booked a hotel and put on the newly bought sexy lingerie. Her birthday present to herself was to give an account of her past youth. She said that this was just a one-time thing, and she would never bother him again. However, Shen Linchuan didn't show up for the appointment. The drunk Lin Muxue sent a video to Shen Linchuan in the bar. In the video, the hand of a strange man had already reached into her exposed collar. When Shen Linchuan rushed to the bar in a hurry, he saw her being pressed in the booth by the man, with her skirt in a mess. Shen Linchuan was blinded by anger. He reached out and pulled Lin Muxue away from the man, and then got into a fight with that person. Later, because he was subdued, in a hurry, he picked up the wine bottle on the table and smashed it hard on the man's head. As for what happened later, I already knew. With that smash, Shen Linchuan almost ruined his bright future. The other party stubbornly refused to reach a settlement and insisted that Shen Linchuan go to jail. After I learned about it, I contacted the lawyer I met when I was doing a part-time translation job overnight and asked him to help deal with the matter. I also visited the man in the hospital several times and pleaded with him humbly to reach a settlement. After a week of difficult negotiations, the other party finally relented. He demanded 50,000 yuan in compensation plus covering all his medical expenses and agreed to a negotiated settlement. Shen Linchuan didn't want his parents to know that he had gotten into trouble at school, so I advanced them more than 50,000 yuan. That was my scholarship and the money I earned from translation orders in the past few years of college. The car accident that led to my amputation happened on the way back to school from the detention center. At that time, after Shen Linchuan answered a phone call, he suddenly said that he wanted to buy something at the supermarket across the road and asked me to go back to school first. Just as he was crossing the road, a black car lost control and rushed towards him. I didn't have time to think. My body reacted faster than my brain. I rushed over and pushed him away with all my strength, but my left leg was caught under the wheels of the car. Due to the severity of the injury, a large area of the leg tissue became necrotic. In order to save my life, my left leg had to be amputated. After coming out of the operating room, Shen Linchuan held my hand tightly. With red and swollen eyes, he knelt in front of my hospital bed and promised that he would take good care of me for the rest of his life. Later, I took a leave of absence from school and gave up the idea of taking the postgraduate entrance examination. I lay straight in the simple rental house that Shen Linchuan rented for me every day. The only outdoor activity was when Shen Linchuan took me to the hospital for rehabilitation training. A year later, Shen Linchuan graduated from university. Instead of starting to look for a job like other graduates, he discussed with a few friends to start a media company. He took the remaining 800,000 yuan of the car accident compensation money in my card as the startup capital for the company. My rehabilitation treatment was forced to be interrupted many years later. My attending doctor told me that if I could have persisted in completing all the rehabilitation courses, I might not have developed long-term chronic myelitis. 6. Later on, Shen Linchuan took me home to meet his parents. When his parents learned that their son's marriage partner was a woman missing a leg, their faces instantly turned as iron, gloomy as iron. They didn't even bother to maintain the superficial courtesy. They directly pointed at me and cursed at my nose in front of their relatives and friends. They called me shameless, a cripple, and a burden that would only drag down their son, but no matter how they cursed, I remained indifferent. What else could I do? I lost a leg to save Shen Linchuan. Because of the amputation, I suffered from severe post-traumatic stress disorder. At night, I was always struggling in pain between fear and despair. Given my current situation, Shen Linchuan was already my best choice. Why should they ask me to give up? I won't even if I die. Unfortunately, I didn't recover well after the amputation. Chronic myelitis tortured me beyond recognition. Before I reached the age of 40, my hair was almost completely white, and my face was extremely old. Shen Linchuan hired 2 nannies to take care of me and transferred 200,000 yuan of pocket money to my card every month. He seldom went home himself. Even if he came back a little earlier occasionally, he would always stay in the study and only come out late at night. He was always busy and always on business trips. On the night of Li Cheng's housewarming party, my body trembled and I had difficulty breathing due to the onset of post-traumatic stress disorder, and I was urgently sent to the hospital. I asked Shen Linchuan for an explanation, but he always avoided showing up. 2 months later, I died in the hospital of respiratory failure caused by myelitis. Until the last moment, Shen Linchuan never appeared again. After I died, my soul lingered for a long time. I watched as the nurse covered me with a white cloth, looked at the gradually brightening sky outside the window, and saw Shen Linchuan, who came late, standing in front of my body with a look of relief on his face as if he had been freed. After dealing with the funeral affairs, he sat in front of my newly built grave and lit a cigarette. He said, "Jiang Yuning, you lost your left leg to save me. I was also imprisoned in a self-imposed prison and forced to stay by your side for more than 10 years. Now that you're dead, I'm finally free. In this life, we're even with each other. If there's an afterlife, we'll be miles apart and never see each other again." After saying that, he lit our marriage certificate in front of the grave. I followed Shen Linchuan to the front of a luxurious villa. A woman wearing a silk nightgown ran out of the villa barefoot. She threw herself into the man's arms. It was Lin Muxue. She hugged the man around the waist and comforted him softly. "Honey, don't be too sad. That woman is dead. From now on, our family of 3 will live a good life." The man nodded silently. In the evening, I saw their daughter who was already in the 3rd year of junior high school, but I had only been married to him for 15 years. It turned out that the marriage I had thought was stable before had already been completely rotten. 7. I don't know if the hatred surging in my eyes due to the memories was too obvious. Shen Linchuan softened his tone, and his voice was so gentle that it was almost flattering. "Okay, don't be angry. I'll transfer the money to you as soon as I raise it. Now, let me take you to that dessert shop you like the most. How about it?" I shook off his hand that came to hold mine in disgust. Shen Linchuan was a bit stunned, and his right hand hung awkwardly in the air. Just then, his phone rang suddenly. After looking at the caller ID, he glanced at me in a flustered manner and said to me with an unnatural expression, "Yuning, wait a moment, I need to answer this call." Then, he covered the receiver and walked a few steps to the side. "Hello, Muxue." His lowered voice drifted over with the wind. "Don't worry. I've already dealt with the matter, and I'm out of the detention center." I didn't know what was said on the other end. I saw a slight blush on the tips of his ears. He asked in a low voice, "What brand of tampons do you use?" "Okay, if your stomach hurts, just stay in the dormitory and don't come out. I'll buy tampons and painkillers for you later and send them to you." When he hung up the phone and turned around, there was still a trace of tenderness on his face that he hadn't had time to put away. He said to me a bit awkwardly, "Yuning, I suddenly have something to do. How about you go back to school first, and I'll buy the dessert and come to find you downstairs in your dormitory later." I glanced at the messages constantly popping up on Shen Linchuan's phone and said indifferently, "No need, I still have something to do tonight. You can go and take care of your own business." The man let out an imperceptible sigh of relief, nodded, and said, "All right, then I'll go first. Be careful on your way back." In the setting sun, I watched him eagerly walk across the road. Thinking of the fear and despair I felt in that instant when my left leg was caught under the car in my previous life, I suddenly blurted out, "Shenlin." He turned his head and smiled at me. "What's wrong, Yuning? Is there anything else?" I looked at this man who had been by my side for nearly 20 years in my previous life, the man who once knelt beside my hospital bed and swore to love me and take care of me for a lifetime. The afterglow of the evening sun cast a hazy layer of blood color on him. At this moment, the green light behind him turned on. "Be careful when you cross the road. Watch out for getting hit by a car and killed," I said. Shenlin was taken aback, and then he grinned at me. "Don't worry, your boyfriend has a tough life." I looked at him without saying anything and turned to walk in the direction of the school. A dozen seconds later, there was a harsh screech of brakes behind me, followed by a bang, the dull sound of a heavy object hitting the ground. Someone screamed in terror. "Ah, someone's been hit. Call the police quickly." I tightly clenched the strap of the canvas bag on my shoulder, and my nails dug deep into my palm. The surging crowd kept rushing towards the intersection where the accident happened. My stomach suddenly cramped violently. I couldn't hold it in any longer and bent over, retching violently. 8. I returned to the dormitory in a daze, only to meet a pair of eyes that seemed to want to say something but held back. "Yuning." My roommate seemed hesitant to speak. I let out all my strength and threw the canvas bag and my phone on the table. Then I randomly grabbed the water cup next to me and took a few big gulps. The cold liquid slid down my throat, cooling the burning feeling churning in my chest a bit. "What's wrong, Yao?" I asked. My roommate hesitated and pushed the phone in front of me. "This post was just posted 5 minutes ago. Could the injured person be Shenlin from our class?" I looked at the phone screen. The title on the campus forum on the screen was "Shenlin from the School of Finance encountered a severe car accident near the Cultural Square." In the webpage, although the photo was pixelated, the blurred dark red bloodstain was still shocking. I looked at this piece of content and didn't speak for a long time. Just then, my phone suddenly vibrated on the table. It was a strange landline number. I casually turned on the speakerphone. A woman's urgent voice came from the other end of the phone. "Hello, is this Su Yuning? This is the emergency department of the 2nd Municipal Hospital. Shenlin had a car accident and his injuries are serious. Please or his family come to the emergency department as soon as possible." I frowned. Shouldn't the hospital directly notify the school or his family? "Why did they call me directly?" I replied. "Sorry, Shenlin and I are just ordinary classmates. I suggest you directly contact his family." The person on the other end was obviously taken aback for a moment. "You are the only emergency contact on the injured person's phone. Could you please help contact his family? I don't know the contact information of his family. I still have something to deal with here. So I'll hang up now." After saying that, I hung up the phone neatly. I looked up and met 3 shocked faces. Their mouths were slightly open, as if they were meeting me for the first time, but I didn't want to explain anything at this moment. I just dragged my heavy legs and walked into the bathroom. 9. These 2 days, the classmates in the class often gathered together and talked about something. When I got closer, their conversation would stop abruptly. I didn't need to think to know that they must be gossiping about me behind my back. I didn't care. I went to class as usual, ate alone, and went to the study room to read and study when I didn't have classes. Finally, before the morning class on the 4th day, Li Qing, Shenlin roommate, stopped me in the corridor. There was some anger on his face. "Su Yuning, do you have any heart at all? Lin Chuan is lying in the hospital now. His right leg has a comminuted fracture, and the doctor said that his right leg is likely to be disabled. It's just a lame leg. In my previous life, I had my entire left leg amputated." My expression was indifferent, and I calmly retorted, "So what?" Li Qing's expression twisted slightly, and he said angrily, "Most of our classmates have gone to visit him. Even Zhou Hao, who had a feud with him in the student union, went. But what about you? You're his girlfriend, but you haven't even called him. Is your heart made of stone?" I gave him a disdainful look and said, "Maybe Zhou Hao went to the hospital to gloat. You." Li Qing was so angry that he choked. He couldn't find a word to retort to me for a moment. I looked straight into his eyes and reminded him, "Perhaps the person you should notify about Shenlin injury is Lin Muxue, not me." Li Qing's expression froze. The atmosphere was stagnant for a moment. Just then, the bell for class rang in the distance. I pushed his arm aside and walked into the classroom from the back door without looking back. Li Qing's voice, suppressing his anger, came from behind me. "Su Yuning, you're the coldest person I've ever met." I twitched the corners of my mouth and curled up a sarcastic sneer. "Cold-blooded, compared to you heartless and hypocritical scumbags. What I've done is really nothing." 10. But I still went to the hospital to see Shenlin. As soon as I pushed open the door of the ward, a strange smell hit my nose. Shen Lingchuan's right leg was wrapped in thick gauze. There were dried yellow medicine stains on the gauze. And some dark brown bloodstains seeped through. It looked really disgusting. I heard that his injury was very serious. He had to be debrided and have the inflammation reduced first, and the operation could only be carried out after the inflammation was suppressed. I looked at the man who was half lying on the head of the bed. In just a week, he had almost lost all his weight, and his pale cheeks were deeply sunken. Just like me at this time in my previous life, he looked very weak. But the moment he saw me, his eyes lit up. "Yuning, you're here." There was joy in the man's hoarse voice. He sat up straight excitedly, probably accidentally pulling the wound. He frowned and let out a pained groan. However, the next moment, when his gaze accidentally landed on my intact left leg, his eyes, which were originally filled with joy, suddenly trembled. Shen Lingchuan remained silent, but his gaze was fixed firmly on my left leg. I silently walked to the stool beside his hospital bed and sat down, putting the canvas bag on my lap. "Su Yuning, why didn't you save me that day? Or, you could clearly have stopped me." "I know you could have." His voice wasn't loud, but it was filled with an uncontrollable tremor. My heart tightened, and a bitter feeling instantly spread throughout my body. Shen Lingchuan, had he also come back? I looked at him coldly but didn't answer the question he asked. He felt a bit uncomfortable being stared at by me, and a cold sneer curled up at the corner of his mouth. "I've had the car accident for so many days, and it's really rare that Miss Su finally remembered to come and see me." "Well, because the summer vacation will start after the exam next month," I said. Shen Lingchuan didn't seem to understand what I said and looked at me with a frown. Puzzled, "I don't plan to do a summer job this summer vacation. I've made an appointment with a friend to travel abroad, so I need you to return the 170 yuan to me now." Shen Lingchuan widened his eyes in disbelief, and his eye sockets gradually turned scarlet. His voice became a bit broken. "You came to the hospital just to ask me for money. Su Yuning, do you have any heart at all? Have you ever truly loved me?" 11. Shen Lingchuan's question made me laugh in disbelief. He actually asked me if I had truly loved him. Then how did I lose my leg in my previous life? Was it because I didn't want it anymore? The scene of Li Qing saying that he regarded me as Lin Mushua's substitute suddenly flashed in my mind, and after I died, he sat in front of my grave and said those words. How could such a scum of the earth be worthy of my love again? I sneered. "Shen Lingchuan, in your eyes, am I a fool who can be easily deceived by you?" He was slightly taken aback. Then he replied angrily, "When have I ever deceived you? In my previous life, I worked hard and took care of you, a disabled person, for a full 17 years. What else do you want?" I sneered. "Take care of me. In the 2 years before we got married, you did take care of me, but most of the time, I was alone at home. I hopped around on one leg with a crutch, taking care of myself. Later, after we got married and you had money, you hired a nanny and were so touched by yourself." Shen Lingchuan, tell me with your conscience, how many times have you truly taken care of me? Shen Lingchuan's face turned red. "Don't I need to work? Don't I need to make money? I have social engagements and business trips every day, all for you and our family. Do you think the 200,000 yuan I give you every month is just picked up for free? Social engagements, business trips," I repeated his words sarcastically. "Is it a social engagement to have sex with Lin Muxue in the Lanwan villa? Or is it a business trip to attend the parents' meeting for your daughter in the 3rd year of junior high school?" When I mentioned Lin Muxue and his daughter, Shen Lingchuan's expression changed suddenly, and all the color drained from his face. After a short silence, he suddenly laughed strangely. He said, "Su Yuning, do you know how I felt every time I had sex with you and saw the stump of your left leg? I just wanted to vomit, really. It was a physical nausea and the urge to vomit. Every time we had sex, I had to take medicine in advance and suppress myself desperately to continue facing you. If what you call deceiving refers to this matter, then I really did deceive you." Every word of his was like a poison knife, stabbing directly into my heart and then stirring it repeatedly. I tried my best to keep calm, but my teeth still chattered uncontrollably. Tears were almost about to burst out, but I couldn't. I didn't want to break down in front of such a scumbag. I stood up, raised my right hand, and with all my strength, slapped him hard in the face. "Shen Lingchuan, you're a piece of trash. Damn it, why wasn't your ass directly killed by the car that day?" The man's face was slapped to the side by me. He pressed his tongue against the corner of his mouth that was bleeding, and his Adam's apple rolled up and down. I took a deep breath and tried my best to suppress the tremor in my voice. "Today, I don't want to hear how much you once hated me. And I don't want to talk about the favor of saving you in my previous life, since it's all in the past life. There's no need for anyone to mention it again in the future. I came here for two things. One is that we break up, and the other is that you pay back the money immediately. From now on, we're completely done with each other and have nothing to do with each other. 12. I stood in front of the hospital bed. With my arms crossed over my chest, I coldly watched Shin Lin Chuan with a dark face, making phone calls one by one to his relatives and friends to borrow money. When Alipay notified me that 170 yuan had been credited to my account, I blocked all of his contact information right in front of him. I was just about to turn around and leave. Shin Lin Chuan's cold voice came from behind me. Su Yuning, I really want to see how well you can live this life without me, relying only on your father who is full of scheming and your stepmother who is so calculating. When that time comes, if you regret it and want to come back to me, I may not necessarily accept you. I paused slightly in my steps. The faces of that disgusting man and woman involuntarily emerged in my mind. That woman was my mother's cousin. After my mother was diagnosed with advanced cervical cancer, she came to take care of my mother for a while. As a result, she ended up in my father's bed. After my mother passed away, I became a thorn in her side. She only had eyes for her own daughter and her ex-husband's daughter. She racked her brains to drive me, who was under 14 years old, out of the house. My father turned a blind eye to it. Even at the instigation of that woman, he forced me to drop out of school and go to work to earn money. Naturally, I didn't want to. Fortunately, I got excellent grades in the high school entrance examination, and the high school waived my tuition fees. Later, I managed to get a scholarship through my hard work. In addition, I found someone to sell the gold bracelet my mother left me, and I barely managed to finish 3 years of high school. Shin Lin Chuan certainly knew how terrible my original family was. He also knew how much I hated that despicable couple, but now, he was deliberately using them to provoke me. A surge of anger rushed to the top of my head with a buzz. I suddenly turned around and walked up to his hospital bed, raised my hand and slapped him again, and then spat in his face. Ugh, you want me to come back? It's 12 o'clock at noon. What the hell kind of daydream are you having? I think you're just as lowly as those two beasts, all from the same filthy den. Shin Lin Chuan's face twisted instantly, and the veins on his forehead bulged. He suddenly got up from the hospital bed and pounced towards me, but because of his injured right leg, he fell heavily to the ground. Su, Yu, Ning. He gritted his teeth and roared my name, as if he wanted to devour me alive. I looked down at him contemptuously and coldly, and then slammed the door and left. 13. I had already cut off all contact with Shin Lin Chuan, but things about him still inevitably reached my ears through other classmates in the class. I heard that he had a serious infection after the operation, which led to sepsis, and he stayed in the ICU for more than a month. His parents came to the school to handle the leave of absence formalities for him. In order to encourage him, Lin Muxiwa wore a white veil on her head and took a photo of herself kissing Shin Lin Chuan on the hospital bed. There were also people on the campus forum who specifically posted about their relationship. The classmates all envied Lin Muxiwa's unwavering love for him and said that they were true lovers. But I didn't have time to pay attention to them. I was busy preparing for the Advanced English Interpretation examination, studying for the postgraduate entrance examination, and enjoying the feeling of running freely with my healthy legs. I immersed myself in BBC News and TED speeches every day, and even practiced simultaneous interpretation in my dreams. The name Shin Lin Chuan had long been blurred by my studies. The next time I saw Shin Lin Chuan was in the winter of my senior year, just before New Year's Day. At that time, it had been only a few days since the preliminary examination of the postgraduate entrance examination ended, and the nerves that I had been tensing all the time finally got a little relaxation. That day, I sat by the artificial lake holding a cup of hot cocoa, watching the artificially raised red-billed gulls frolicking and hovering on the lake. Suddenly, a fierce argument came from not far away. Shin Lin Chuan, why don't you stay in the rental house properly? What are you doing going crazy at school? Look at your current state. Neither human nor ghost. You've scared my friends away. The woman's voice was filled with anger and disgust. I looked in the direction of the sound. Behind the bare kapok tree, I saw two familiar figures. In the cold winter, Shin Lin Chuan was only wearing a wrinkled checkered shirt. He was extremely thin. Coupled with the fact that he was hunched over and leaning on a crutch at the moment, he looked very miserable. Shin Lin Chuan's eyes were bloodshot, and he asked sarcastically, "Friends? You tell me they're friends? You were all hugging and kissing each other. How the hell are they still friends?" Lin Muxiwa, I just took a leave of absence for a while, and you couldn't wait to hook up with someone else behind my back. No wonder you didn't answer my calls or reply to my messages recently. If I hadn't secretly come here today, I wouldn't have known that you were cheating on me. Lin Muxiwa looked impatient. It's none of your business what I do, if I don't be with others. Am I really going to marry you? If I had known that you would be a 7th level disabled person, I would never have been with you in the first place. If I dared to take you home, my parents would break my legs. You despise me. Shen Lingchuan's whole body trembled violently. He lost his composure and roared. Don't forget who I ended up like this for. If it wasn't for buying things for you, how could I have been hit by a car? Then go call the police. Lin Mushua's voice was cold. Go ahead, if you have the guts. Let the police arrest me. It's clearly your own fault for not looking when you crossed the road. The driver who hit you really had the worst luck. I'm warning you. Stay away from me in the future and don't come to me again. I have nothing to do with you. After Lin Mushua finished speaking, she turned around and left directly, as if all the support had been pulled out of Shen Lingchuan's body. His crutch fell, and he also lost his balance and fell to the right on the ground. With a sarcastic smile on my lips, I watched the whole show. Shen Lingchuan struggled to get up from the ground. The moment he raised his head, his gaze happened to meet mine. He shuddered, as if struck by lightning, and his whole body froze in the biting cold wind. 14. In the 8 o'clock class on Monday morning, I was listening to music with earphones on, holding a steaming basket of steamed buns and a cup of soy milk in my hand, and hurried into the classroom. As soon as I found an empty seat and sat down, Shui Yan, who had a good relationship with me, sat next to me. She bumped my elbow mysteriously. I took off my earphones in confusion. Shui Yan leaned over and lowered her voice. Yuning, have you heard? Shen Lingchuan's girlfriend from the School of the Arts has hooked up with a junior from the School of Physical Education. The gossiping expression on her face couldn't be suppressed, and her tone was also a bit excited. Yesterday, that girl went to a hotel with the junior. As a result, Shen Lingchuan caught them. Shen Lingchuan fought with that boy, but with his lame leg, how could he be a match for a physical education student? Well, he was sent to the hospital again last night. My hand that was unpacking the breakfast packaging paused. Shui Yan continued. The police were even called yesterday. Both the physical education student and that girl were taken away. It's really outrageous. How about it? She suddenly grabbed my wrist, blinked her big eyes, and asked me, don't you feel really relieved after hearing this? I smiled and nodded. Yeah, it's really relieving. They deserve it. The girl chuckled. That's more like it. Since you broke up with Shen Lingchuan, I've hardly seen you smile. It's hard to find a toad with 3 legs in this world, but there are plenty of men with 2 legs. I looked at her gratefully. Among my classmates, she was the only one who had always shown kindness to me. In the eyes of other classmates, I was an extreme egoist who immediately broke up with Shen Lingchuan after his car accident. They thought that a person like me was not worth making friends with. Shui Yan bumped my shoulder again, her eyes curved into a smile. I heard that you even passed the oral test of the Advanced English Interpretation examination at one go. You're so amazing. I smiled. Well, maybe I was just a bit lucky. Then, I'll treat you to dinner tonight. You can choose the restaurant. Great. 15. Half a year passed by in a flash. Before I knew it, the first semester of my senior year was coming to an end. Many classmates had already left the school one after another after finishing the exams. After the last course of financial engineering in our major was over, my roommates were also packing their luggage and preparing to go home. Shui Yan had a lot of luggage, and she called me to help her move the luggage to the taxi parked outside the school. When I saw Shui Yan off and then came back to the dormitory, I found that the other 3 people had already left. I stood alone in the empty dormitory, and suddenly felt an indescribable sadness in my heart. I still remembered that in September of the year when I first entered the university, I greeted them awkwardly. Now, it's going to be graduation so soon, next semester, except for a few classmates who are going to prepare for the postgraduate entrance examination at school. Everyone will go their separate ways and start their internships. The next time we meet should be during the thesis defense. I washed my face and stood in front of the mirror for a long time. I felt really lost in my heart. I picked up my canvas bag and went downstairs, planning to go to the supermarket to buy some milk and dry food. In 2 more days, the supermarket would also close. As soon as I walked out of the dormitory building, I saw a familiar figure standing not far away. I glanced at Shen Lingchuan, who was standing by the passage with a crutch, and wanted to pretend not to see him and pass by. When he saw me, he was a bit surprised and quickly hopped twice on his crutch and jumped in front of me. Yuning, you're down. I have something to talk to you about. I didn't want to have any entanglement with him at all, and just said coldly, get out of my way, you're blocking me from breathing fresh air. His eyes were slightly red, and he looked straight at me, his eyes full of affection. Yuning, don't be like this. I've been waiting for you here on purpose. Don't you have anywhere to go during the winter vacation? I've rented the apartment we lived in our previous life. I'll help you move your things there, and we can spend the spring festival together this year. I rubbed my temples irritably. Could he really think that I would miss that rental house which was like a cage to me? Shinlinchuan, will you ever stop? Didn't you say that if there was an afterlife, we would be miles apart and never see each other again? Who are you pretending to be affectionate for now? As I said that, I wanted to step around him and leave, but Shinlinchuan grabbed my arm. Sorry, I was an asshole. I was blinded by greed. I take back those words. He raised his hand and slapped himself twice. Yuning, I regret it. Let's get back together. I swear to you that I will treat you well for the rest of my life. I was really speechless. I mean, this was just too much. I shook off his hand fiercely. Take your dirty hand away. What right do you have to touch me? Shinlinchuan's face turned pale, and his eyes were filled with mist. Yuning, how can you be so heartless? After all, we were husband and wife for more than 10 years. I don't believe that you have no feelings for me at all. He actually had the nerve to accuse me of being heartless, when he treated me like that in the previous life. He never considered whether he was heartless, seeing that he was stubbornly blocking my way and refused to leave. I raised my foot and kicked his intact left leg hard. He let out a cry of pain. His other lame leg couldn't bear the weight at all. After staggering a few steps, he fell heavily to the ground. I shrugged innocently. I already told you to get lost. You insisted on pestering me. I suspect that you want to illegally restrict my personal freedom. This is just self-defense on my part. Shinlinchuan lay on the ground, looking at me with a sad and affectionate expression. Yuning, I don't blame you. If this can make you feel better, I'm willing to endure it. You can kick me as many times as you want, as long as you can forgive me. I looked at his shameless look, and I was afraid that I would make him feel good by kicking him. Since no one was blocking my way anymore, I naturally didn't have the time to waste words with him. I raised my foot and directly stepped over him. 16. In late February, the results of the preliminary examination of the postgraduate entrance examination came out. The score was good, more than 20 points higher than my last mock exam. It was an excellent performance beyond my normal level, considering safety and my own ability. I didn't apply for the first-tier universities. Instead, I applied for a popular major in a second-tier university. The direction was smart finance. Then I started to prepare nervously for the re-examination. The next time I heard news about Shinlinchuan was half a year after I entered graduate school, since I kicked him that time. He had harassed me for a while, but every time, either I gave him a beating, or I called the security guards or the police. Gradually, he no longer appeared in front of me. That day, I just came out of the financial laboratory. I received a WeChat voice message from Shui Yan on my phone. During the conversation, she told me that Lin Muxue and Shinlinchuan had gotten married and invited many of our classmates. I asked curiously, didn't they break up before? Then, I heard an extremely shocking story. During her internship, Lin Muxue worked as a music teacher in a private elite primary school. As a result, she got involved with a student's father. This was discovered by the student's mother, who put the man and hers racy photos and explicit chat records on the internet. Since the man was a senior executive of a listed company, the topic quickly became a trending topic on the internet that night. Hashtag expose an executive having passionate moments with an intern teacher in the car. Hashtag the music teacher of an elite primary school is involved in an affair and exposed by the wife. Hashtag the wife exposes the explicit chat records between the executive and the intern teacher. Hashtag. Not long after this incident happened, Lin Muxue was knocked unconscious on her way home one night. When she woke up, she found that her hands were covered in blood. After diagnosis, the tendons in both of her wrists were precisely severed. After treatment, although she retained her ability to live daily life, it was no longer possible for her to play musical instruments like the guzheng and the piano. So, Shinlinchuan took advantage of the situation at this time. I asked Shui Yan, you guessed it right. Shinlinchuan took the initiative to find Lin Muxue and said that he would take good care of her for the rest of his life. They just had their wedding a few days ago. It was quite grand, and my boyfriend also went. I smiled. They were really a pair of lovers. They became a couple in both lifetimes. After graduating from graduate school, I entered an international financial company through campus recruitment and became a management trainee. The job requires frequent trips between Shanghai and Hong Kong, China. I became even busier, but I still managed to find time to fall in love. My boyfriend is an alumnus I met during my postgraduate studies, majoring in artificial intelligence. On Valentine's Day, since I was working in Hong Kong, China, I had a long phone call with my boyfriend after work. By the time I hung up the phone, it was already late at night. When I opened WeChat, I saw more than 100 unread messages in the university class group. Everyone seemed to be discussing Lin Muxue and Shen Linchuan. Out of curiosity, I scrolled up through the messages. The earliest message was a forwarded news article. Woman unable to bear long-term domestic violence, poisons her family with tetramine. In the news photo, the person wearing a yellow detention center vest and bowing her head for an interview was unexpectedly Lin Muxue. Lin Muxue stated that since getting married, she had felt like falling into an abyss. She not only had to take care of her lame husband but also serve her difficult in-laws. Even when she was pregnant, she was ordered by her mother-in-law to do housework. Just because she said she would do it a little later, she was pushed hard by her mother-in-law. Her stomach hit the corner of the table, and she miscarried the baby in her womb. However, instead of feeling sorry for her, her husband cursed at her, calling her a useless person who couldn't even protect their child. As soon as she got home after the dilation and curettage surgery, she was brutally beaten by her husband. Since then, her husband seemed to be possessed by a demon and often tortured her in various ways. Every time he saw her kneeling on the ground and crying for mercy in pain, a sickening sense of pleasure would appear on his face. She spent every day in fear and despair. She tried to escape, get a divorce, and seek help from her parents. But every attempt of hers was met with endless beatings from her in-laws and husband. Finally, she broke down. The long-term suppression and despair made her completely give up struggling. She bought a large amount of rat poison and secretly added it to the meals of those 3 people time and time again. It was not until her mother-in-law suddenly vomited and fainted and was urgently sent to the hospital that the truth was revealed. Looking at this news, I didn't feel particularly satisfied, nor did I sigh with emotion. Perhaps truly letting go means that even hearing news about them feels irrelevant. 18. In the 18th month of my management trainee period, I finally passed the confirmation interview. The basic annual salary on the offer handed to me by the HR made me subconsciously hold my breath. This didn't even include the performance bonus I might receive at the end of the year. Life really became brighter. I have a healthy body, a satisfying job, and a like-minded lover. In my previous life, I was deeply trapped in pain and suffered from physical torture, but fortunately, I'm now standing at a brand new crossroads in life. The wind comes from the other side, carrying a sense of chill and freedom. Only occasionally, in the dead of night, I always feel that there is a missing piece in my heart, until one night when I was working overtime, among the distant twinkling lights, my memory suddenly flashed back to the disgusting faces of my father and stepmother. Calculating the time, we haven't been in touch for 6 or 7 years. It's also time for me to care about their family, so, during my vacation, I went back to my hometown. I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but the day I got home happened to be the day my stepsister got engaged. It was obvious that the whole family was very satisfied with my stepsister's fiancé. My father and stepmother would have their tails wagging all the way to the sky if they had tails. The man was the second generation of a factory owner. He was tall, handsome, and wealthy. No wonder my stepsister looked at him with love and happiness in her eyes. My father and stepmother didn't react much to my return. They were still as cold and indifferent as before. They would just be a bit more enthusiastic when talking about their daughter finding a rich husband. During the few days in my hometown, I asked around and got detailed information about the factory owned by my stepsister's husband's family. I saw the recruitment information for a receptionist at their factory on a recruitment website, so I spent a large sum of money to hire a beautiful amateur actress. I also carefully designed a script and asked the actress to apply for the job according to my plan and then get close to my dear stepsister's fiancé. If she successfully made them break up and call off the engagement, I would add an additional bonus of 200,000 yuan. Of course, I wouldn't force her to use any illegal means. If she took the initiative to throw herself at him, that would be her own problem. The girl really didn't let me down. In just 3 months, there came the news that my stepsister and her fiancé were breaking up. 2 months later, the girl sent me a transfer of 888 yuan, along with 2 marriage certificates. The bride was her, and the groom was unexpectedly my stepsister's fiancé. Before I could react, her video call popped up. As soon as I answered it, I heard her clear and joyful voice. Sister, quickly accept the red envelope. My wedding with Jemming will be held next month. Can you come and be my bridesmaid? I was a bit stunned. After reacting, I quickly said, oh, right, then I'll add the bonus for you. It's still the same bank card as last time, right? She directly interrupted me. I haven't even properly thanked you for introducing Jemming to me. I don't want the bonus anymore. However, I found out yesterday that I'm pregnant. Can I ask you to be the godmother of my child? This, seeing my hesitation, she threw out a condition that I couldn't refuse. She said meaningfully, in case you still need professional actors in the near future, I can introduce some to you. I thought about it, smiled, and asked, then do you know any older actors, those around 40 or 50 years old? I heard her pat her chest on the other end of the phone. Of course, send me the location and time of the wedding. I will definitely be there. 19, 3 months later. He remarried in a high-profile manner and hosted a banquet for guests from all over. Back then, when her mother climbed into my father's bed and made my seriously ill mother so angry that she vomited blood, when she brazenly moved into my bedroom and threw my belongings into the community trash bin like garbage, when she joined forces with my classmates at school to bully me and gave me the nickname Ground Rat, no one cared whether I was innocent or not. Since her mother could seduce my father back then, why can't someone else seduce her man? Looking at it from another perspective, aren't I actually helping her eliminate potential problems before marriage? A man who can be easily seduced is no good match. If one day she sees the truth and wants to thank me, I will sincerely tell her, don't be polite. These are all things that an elder sister should do. Story 2. On the eve of Lunar New Year, Shin Jingma brought his son to spend the festival with his first love, Bai Yuiguang. The three of them had dinner together and even took a photo with fireworks to share on social media. Their friends liked and commented on the post, with one asking, strange, why hasn't Xiaowei reacted? Usually, she would have called by now. Shin Jingma was unfazed, saying, she'll call later, but after midnight, Shin Jingma still hadn't received a call from me. Unable to hold back, he asked, Xiaowei, why haven't you called me to come home? He didn't know that at that moment, I was already on a train leaving town. From now on, no one would urge him to come home again. The day I left was also New Year's Eve. Shin Jingma came downstairs from the bedroom on the second floor, not noticing that I was packing my things. As he walked out, he casually mentioned, I'm going to the old house to pick up Shishi. Tonight I'm taking him to Rushwang's place for the New Year celebration. Don't wait up for us for dinner. It was a tone he always used to inform me of his plans. Had it been 2 years ago, I would have protested loudly, but this year, perhaps because I was about to leave, I felt unusually calm. Okay, I didn't look up or say anything more. Shin Jingma paused, a trace of surprise in his eyes, but he didn't ask further. Busy with his departure, he just nodded. The sound of the door closing was neither loud nor soft, yet, I paused for a moment in my actions. A week ago, I saw Rushwang's social media post. She had bought many festive items for the new year, taking a selfie in front of a window covered in paper cutouts, looking forward to another new year. Many people liked her post, most of them were Shin Jingma's friends. One of them commented, spending another new year with Shen Ge, he really treats you well. Rushwang didn't respond directly, just posted a cute emoji. Shin Jingma liked the comment too. Their interaction didn't surprise me. After all, this wasn't the first time Shin Jingma had spent New Year's Eve with Rushwang. To be more specific, this was the third year, but there was nothing I could do, since Rushwang was Shin Jingma's first love. Even though Shin Jingma and I went from schoolmates to spouses, it ended up just like every cliché story. After Rushwang returned, Shin Jingma's attention to everything else seemed half-hearted. I used to make a scene about it, openly and secretly asking Shin Jingma if he was going to spend New Year's with her again. But this year, I asked nothing. Instead, I quietly bought a ticket back to my hometown, and left behind a divorce agreement. I guess, that's where Shin Jingma and I ended. The train ticket was for today at 7 p.m. As I debated whether to take a family photo with me, I unexpectedly received a call from Shinshi. Shinshi is our 5-year-old son, perhaps because he spent most of his time at the old house. Both father and son shared a similar aloofness and composure. As soon as the video call connected, I saw the familiar young eyes similar to Shin Jingma's. With the car's interior in the background, it seemed Shin Jingma had picked him up. Shinshi frowned at me through the phone. Mom, are you upset again? Upset? I looked blankly at Shinshi in the video. Before I could speak, Shinshi continued. Is it because we're spending the new year with Auntie Ling? I've said it many times already. Auntie Ling is alone during New Year's, unlike you, who has someone every day of the year. Shinshi chattered on. He said something similar 2 years ago. Back then, it was the first time I learned that Shin Jingma was planning to take Shinshi to spend the new year with Ling Rushwang. We had a big argument. Shinshi stood by his father's side. Both father and son looked at me with eyes full of blame and dissatisfaction. Ling Auntie has returned to the country alone. She just wants to have a lively new year. Is it wrong for us to keep her company? I argued at that time. They went to accompany Ling Rushwang. But doesn't that leave me all alone? Originally, Shinshi was raised in the old house, and I hardly had much time to see him. Now, during the new year, I wanted us to be together as a family more than ever, but in their eyes, I appeared as a nagging shrew. Shinshi looked at me reproachfully, like a little adult. In the past, his gaze and words would have pierced my heart, but now, that kind of hurt felt as trivial as a mosquito bite. She, I'm not angry. If you wish, you can spend every new year with Aunt Ling. I meant it sincerely. Shinshi's little face paused. Then he pursed his lips. You're speaking sarcastically again. It's always like this. But when has it not been the case that you call us precisely on time to urge us to come home? I opened my mouth, wanting to say something. Shinshi had already handed the phone to Shinjingma. The camera briefly swept past before settling on him. With the dim light inside the car, his facial features were clear and cold. A slight glance from him carried a chill. I immediately stopped talking. Shinjingma, driving with a cold voice, asked, Is there anything else? His tone was familiar. I used to have a lot to say, but now, I shook my head. No. Shinjingma seemed momentarily stunned. He wanted to look at me, but the green light came on. In the moment he started driving, I had already hung up the phone. I ultimately did not bring the family photo. After packing up all my belongings, I casually placed the keys at the entrance. After 6 years in this city, all my possessions filled only a 26-inch suitcase. The winter weather was cold, and a thin layer of mist formed on the car window. During a break in traffic, the driver chatted with me, asking if I was going home for the new year. Yes. Why did you buy such a late ticket? He inquired. If home was far, he wondered if I could make it in time for the New Year's Eve dinner. He joked about it. I could only half-jokingly reply that I hadn't managed to get an earlier ticket, but that wasn't true. I had originally planned to drive back to my home with Shinjingma and Shinshi this year. It had been 6 years since I married Shinjingma and had not been home. Initially, it was because Shinshi was too young for long travels. Later, when Shinshi turned 3, Shinjingma spent the next 2 years taking him to be with Ling Rushwang. I thought Shinjingma would remember this year, but a post by Ling Rushwang reminded me, Shinjingma had once again forgotten about it. Since that was the case, I no longer held any hopes, so, I bought a ticket myself, but I was a bit late in buying it. Only managing to get one for today, the driver dropped me off at the train station. It was exactly 6:30 p.m. I carried my suitcase, went through ticket inspection, and boarded the train. The city lights were already on. By the riverside of the outer ring, I could see fireworks being set off, quite beautiful. This was the first time I experienced the city's New Year atmosphere in such a way. It felt novel, and at the same time, somewhat relieving. I remembered the first 1 or 2 years after marrying Shinjingma. Actually, those times were quite happy. Back when we were newlyweds, Shinshi was born, immersing the entire Shin family in a joyful atmosphere. Smiles were on everyone's faces, and the usual strictness and advice directed at me seemed to dissipate. But when did it all start to change? It probably began when the Shin family insisted that Shinshi be raised in the Shin household. I had to call in advance every month just to see Shinshi. The house I had meticulously arranged was eventually left to just Shinjingma and me. What started as a couple who could share everything and were extremely close turned into two people who had nothing to talk about and shared a bed but dreamed different dreams. My hopes gradually diminished, and the days I looked forward to the most each year were not only seeing Shinshi but also the Chinese New Year. When I could spend more time with him, however, while Shinshi was taught to be polite and well-behaved, he always seemed distant towards me. I thought it was because we didn't see each other often enough until I saw how he interacted with Ling Rushwang. I then realized that connections between people don't necessarily grow closer just because of blood relations. I came across Shinjingma's New Year's Eve post on social media. Just like every other year, the New Year's Eve dinner, fireworks show, and a photo of him with Shinshi and Ling Rushwang. In the photo, Ling Rushwang looked gentle, and Shinshi looked adorable. Even the usually reserved and calm Shinjingma had a warm expression, with a slight smile at the corner of his mouth. I remembered the family portrait that I didn't take with me, the most recent one, taken last year on Shinshi's birthday. In that photo, I was the only one smiling. The reason Shinjingma and Shinshi didn't smile, they claimed, was simply because they didn't like to. At that time, I didn't suspect anything. After all, Shinshi took after Shinjingma, who indeed isn't very smiley by nature. Now looking at this photo, I felt a bit emotional but nothing more. I thought about liking Shinjingma's post but then saw the comments below. It hadn't been long since Shinjingma posted it, just half an hour. But there were quite a few comments. Some were from people who misunderstood, thinking the three were a happy family, wishing Shinjingma happiness. Others were from Shinjingma's friends. Some comments made me pause. Someone said, Shin is spending New Year with Rushwang again. Did Xiaowei say anything? Yeah, it's odd. It's been half an hour since Shin posted. Why hasn't Xiaowei reacted? Usually, she would have bombarded him with calls by now. Shinjingma replied to one of them. She'll call soon. I froze because it reminded me of the phone call Shinshi made to me that afternoon. He said I was being sarcastic, always calling them precisely on time to hurry them back home. Indeed, if it were before, I would have already called Shin Jingma, telling him to hurry home with our son after dinner. What I actually wanted to tell Shinshi was that I wasn't being sarcastic. This year, I wouldn't be calling. From now on, I wouldn't be calling them to hurry home anymore. After seeing that comment from Shin Jingma, I retracted my intention to like the post. To avoid them thinking I was implying something by other means, I turned off my phone. Amidst the shaking and rattling of the train, I reminisced about my past with Shin Jingma while calculating how much longer it would take to get home. It's only when leaving that one can truly foster more emotions. I recalled my time with Shin Jingma, from when he transferred to my high school in his second year, to when we attended the same university. I had a crush on him throughout high school and college. He was naturally a standout. His family background, academic performance, and appearance were all exceptional. As for me, just getting into the same university as him had been a struggle. I watched him and Ling Rushwang passionately together, and then they broke up. I never dared to hope that Shin Jingma would notice me, but fate works in mysterious ways. One day, it suddenly opened a window for the person I secretly adored. To this day, I vividly remember the day Shin Jingma realized my feelings. It was half a year after Ling Rushwang had gone abroad. Shin Jingma participated in a competition, and at that time, no one believed he could win. Only I firmly believed he would succeed. Later, Shin Jingma won the first prize in that competition. In the fading excitement of cheers and celebrations, Shin Jingma suddenly approached me. Xiao Wei, Shin Jingma said, I heard you were the first one to bet on me winning this competition. He had just won the award, and his pride was evident in his eyes, dazzlingly bright. I couldn't dare to look directly into his eyes. I just said softly, I just believed in you. Shin Jingma chuckled. I've seen you several times now. It seems like in such events, you were always there. I was stunned. In fact, I had seen Shin Jingma at many such events, but I never dared to get too close. I always silently blended into the crowd, being one of the cheering onlookers. I always thought I hid myself well. Unexpectedly, I looked at Shin Jingma, breathed lightly, unable to speak. Shin Jingma didn't speak either, only his dark, bright eyes smiled. His smile made my heartbeat lose its rhythm. When Shin Jingma and I got together, it shocked many people. Everyone hearing my name would instinctively react with, who? I was no match for Ling Rushwang, a talented girl from the art academy. She had caused a sensation throughout the academy with a piano piece right at the start of her freshman year. Her pairing with Shin Jingma was lauded as a match of both talent and beauty. Unfortunately, the two were destined to part ways. Ling Rushwang chose to go abroad for her career. Shin Jingma was so heartbroken that he ended up in the hospital. Everyone thought Shin Jingma would never recover from this heartbreak. Yet, unexpectedly, half a year later, he was with me, a nobody. And we stepped into marriage. People said Shin Jingma must have been possessed. Otherwise, why would he choose me? Even after the birth of Shinshi, such talks persisted, until Ling Rushwang returned. I could imagine their sighs and lamentations, as if I were a stone blocking the path in a script, preventing the true lovers from being together. Now that the true protagonist had returned, it seemed it was time for this stone to be cleared away. Just past midnight, I was awakened by the sound of fireworks outside. The new year had arrived. People were moving around in the train car, and some were whispering on the phone to reassure their families. My phone under the pillow was vibrating. It was Shin Jingma. Honestly, I was surprised. After all, at this time in previous years, he should have been enjoying the New Year's Eve fireworks with Shinshi and Ling Rushwang. He shouldn't have had the time to call me. Could something have happened to Shinshi? I swiped to answer the call. Hello. Only breathing could be heard on the other end. I thought it was a bad signal. About to speak again, then I suddenly heard Shin Jingma's voice, soft and deep. Did you sleep? I instinctively felt Shin Jingma had something to say, but I was still surprised. He now seemed to beat around the bush instead of speaking directly. No, what's up? I spoke softly, careful not to disturb the other passengers. Shin Jingma was silent for a long while, then I heard him speak. It's midnight. Why didn't you call me? Me, why should I call him? Although it was just a moment of confusion, I realized it immediately. It was because of that post in the circle of friends. Oddly enough, in past years, Shin Jingma always hated it when I called him to come home. Even Shinshi mentioned that hearing my ringtone would dampen his festive spirit. This year I didn't call. Yet Shin Jingma actually took the initiative to ask me. Since he asked, I responded willingly. I didn't want to spoil your fun, so I didn't call. That was the truth. But Shin Jingma stayed silent even longer. After I stopped loving Shin Jingma, I found that I didn't want to waste my time on him anymore. Is there anything else? If not, I'm going to hang up. There is. What is it? She wants to wish you a happy new year. Shinshi, that's really something. In previous years, Shinshi was always too busy enjoying himself. I only saw him on the third day of the Lunar New Year at the old house. That's when he would remember to wish me a happy new year. This year, he started sending his greetings right on time, although Shinshi is sensible, and I should feel comforted and sentimental. It's strange that now my heart feels absolutely calm. Thus, my reply was rather formulaic. Thank you, and wish him a happy new year too. It seemed like there was a bad connection on Shin Jingma's end. I couldn't hear his voice several times. Thinking it was a bad signal, I decided to just hang up. But just at the crucial moment, Shin Jingma suddenly called out my name, Xiaowei. How about Shinshi and I accompany you to the amusement park after we visit the old house for the new year? The amusement park, I suddenly remembered. That was something I mentioned a long time ago, but I didn't really want to go to the amusement park. It was more about bonding with Shinshi, but Shin Jingma was always busy, and Shinshi said the amusement park was too childish and didn't want to go. Waiting and waiting, the plan was always put off, until one day I saw Ling Rishuang's post on the circle of friends. It wasn't that they didn't have time, nor that they thought the amusement park was childish. They had already gone, and the person they wanted to accompany was not me. There's no need to foster any relationship anymore, naturally. I also lost interest in the amusement park. What did you say? The train passed through a tunnel. It seemed Shin Jingma didn't hear my words. I was about to repeat myself, but suddenly, a delicate female voice came through the phone. Jingma, come on, she wants us to help him with the fireworks. The voice grew louder. It was Ling Rishuang. I was all too familiar with her, especially in the past 2 years. We had interacted too much. Ling Rishuang's voice was almost etched in my bones. It seemed she realized Shin Jingma was on the phone and said, "Are you on a call? Is it Wei Wei? Did she call you guys to come home again?" "Yes, that's right. It's getting late. You guys should head back soon. Otherwise Wei Wei might worry." Just that, Ling Rishuang hesitated. I could almost picture her furrowing her pretty brows and looking affectionate. Just that, she has been wanting to eat the egg custard I make. Shin Jingma held the receiver tighter. Ling Rishuang's voice faded again. I no longer had the heart to eavesdrop on their conversation. I simply hung up the phone. More words would be useless. When Shin Jingma returns tomorrow, he will find out that I am not there. Then, he will understand what I meant. However, speaking of which, I am a bit curious. If Shin Jingma knew I was gone, what reaction will it be? Disdain or the feeling that it was overdue? The sudden arrival of Ling Rishuang interrupted Shin Jingma and Xiaowei's phone call. In that moment, Shin Jingma felt a surge of displeasure towards Ling Rishuang. Unbeknownst to her, he had been waiting all night for Xiaowei's call, because in previous years, if he and Shinshi hadn't returned home by this late hour, Xiaowei wouldn't have let it go. She would have made countless calls and video chats, urging him to wrap up his New Year's Eve dinner with Ling Rishuang and hurry back home with Shinshi. But this year was different. It had been 4 hours since he posted on his social media, and midnight had passed. Yet there wasn't a single call or even a message from Xiaowei. This was unusual. From half an hour after the social media post, Shin Jingma's heart began to feel uneasy, and as time passed, that uneasiness grew more pronounced. He had barely managed to call Xiaowei under the pretext of wishing her a happy new year right after midnight, but their conversation was cut short by Ling Rishuang. He felt annoyed, though he didn't show it on his face. He asked Xiaowei what was the matter. Xiaowei mentioned that Shinshi wanted to eat her homemade egg custard, hinting that Shin Jingma should stay over at her place with their son. Shin Jingma didn't want to. He was eager to go home and see Xiaowei. At this time, she should have been at home waiting for him and Shinshi, just like the previous years. Even if they returned late, she would wait to wish them a happy new year and present them with her carefully prepared New Year's gift. He wondered what gift she had prepared this year. Thinking about it, Shin Jingma felt a mix of anticipation and tenderness. He wanted to immediately take Shinshi and go home, but Shinshi, full of energy, was having too much fun and was reluctant to leave. "I'm not going back. I want to sleep over at Aunt Ling's." Shinshi clung to Ling Rishuang, refusing to let go. Ling Rishuang was trying to persuade him while also holding him back. "Jingma, let she stay over for the night. We have plenty of rooms," she said. "But, are you worried about Xiaowei misunderstanding?" "Don't worry. I'll go with you to explain to her." Ling Rishuang looked at him with a gentle gaze. "Besides, it's not safe for you to drive so late." "That's right. Just let Mom know," Shinshi chimed in. Shin Jingma looked at his son, whom he shared with Xiaowei, and showed a bit more indulgence. "Send a message to Mom and then come home after breakfast tomorrow." "Okay." Shinshi agreed nicely. He took his phone and sent a voice message to Qiao Wei, but Qiao Wei didn't respond. Shen Jingma felt even more uneasy, yet, he didn't suspect anything. He just thought that Qiao Wei had gone to sleep angry. He decided to go home early the next day and bring a New Year's gift for Qiao Wei. She was always tender-hearted and easy to appease. Even if she was angry, she was easy to coax. Shen Jingma was determined. But before he could return home the next day, he received a call from the old family house. The elders at the old house asked him to bring Shinshi over to pay a New Year's visit. Alright, I'll pick up Qiao Wei first. Why pick her up? I don't want to see her. Shen's mother's voice came through the phone, laden with deep displeasure and aversion. Shen Jingma knew that his mother had never liked Qiao Wei. At the root of it was that Qiao Wei's background didn't match the Shen family's status, but he and Qiao Wei were the ones living their life together. He loved Qiao Wei and didn't care about matching statuses. Mom, Qiao Wei is your daughter-in-law and your grandson's mother. It's New Year's. How can we not invite her? He couldn't help but retort. Shen's mother snorted coldly. I don't think she sees herself as part of this family. She doesn't want to come to the old house, and I won't force her. That was indeed the truth. Qiao Wei knew that Shen's mother didn't like her, especially after the disputes over keeping Shinshi at the old house. Qiao Wei had visited the old house only a handful of times. Those few times were just to see Shinshi. Even when Qiao Wei did go, it didn't please her. Shen Jingma felt a bit of a headache coming on. I'll ask Qiao Wei first. If Qiao Wei didn't want to go to the old house either, he wouldn't insist. Shen Jingma called Qiao Wei. She didn't answer. Shen's mother urged him again, mentioning that all the Shen family relatives had arrived. So, Shen Jingma had no choice but to leave a message for Qiao Wei. There were many relatives visiting the old house for New Year's greetings. As the head of this generation, Shen Jingma inevitably had to entertain and take care. Plus, Shinshi was well liked by everyone. He ended up staying at the old house until the fourth day of the new year. During this time, Qiao Wei didn't reply to any of his messages. Finally, a strong sense of unease began to stir in Shen Jingma's heart. After sending off all the relatives on the fourth day, he ignored his mother's pleas to stay and took Shinshi back to his and Qiao Wei's small home. Upon opening the door, silence and darkness engulfed them. Qiao Wei. Shen Jingma stood at the entrance and tentatively called out. Something was off. No matter how late it was, Qiao Wei always left a light on for him, but now, the entire house was pitch black. No lights were on. Mom, Shinshi headed towards the master bedroom and saw no one. He stood at the staircase, looking bewilderedly at Shen Jingma. Dad, Mom isn't home. Where did she go? A chill spread from Shen Jingma's fingertips, enveloping him. The house was too quiet. It was as if its owner had left a long time ago. A cold draft seeped out from the empty house, engulfing his entire body. I saw Shen Jingma's call on the evening of the fourth day. 21 missed calls, non-stop. It seemed urgent, as if something significant had happened. I called back. The call connected instantly. Hello, Vivi, where did you go? Shen Jingma's voice sounded somewhat hoarse and tired. Maybe it was my imagination, but his question seemed cautious. I pondered for a moment. Are you back home? Yes, no wonder. It seems Shen Jingma had returned home and hadn't found me, which is why he called. But to call so urgently, then he must have seen the divorce papers I left. I went to my mother's house, I replied. Shen Jingma asked, when are you coming back? I paused in confusion. Since Shen Jingma had seen my divorce papers, why would he ask that? Didn't he understand what I meant? I'm not coming back. Since he didn't understand, I decided to make it clear. Shen Jingma, I'm not coming back. Please sign the papers so we can part amicably. What do you mean by parting amicably? Qiao Wei. Shen Jingma's tone became agitated. Weren't we fine? So in Shen Jingma's mind, this was what being fine looked like. A sigh welled up from deep within me, and I exhaled. Shen Jingma seemed to realize something. Is it because I took Shishi to spend New Year's with Rushwang? Why, Shen Jingma? I never asked you so many whys before, I responded helplessly. Shen Jingma seemed to affirm his guess from my helplessness. Qiao Wei. I've told you many times, Rushwang and I are not what you think. Shen Jingma. I coldly interrupted him. I don't want to know what's between you and Ling Rushwang. All I know is that I want a divorce from you. There was a pause and breathing on the other end, and then complete silence. I told Shen Jingma that until he signs the divorce papers, there was no need for him to call me again. My sleep was disturbed by a call from Shen Jingma. I got out of bed to get some water from the dining room. Unexpectedly, I found my mom still busy in the kitchen. Mom, you're still up this late. I made you a late-night snack. As she spoke, she placed a bowl of egg noodles in front of me. Try it. It's been years since you had it. See if it tastes the same as before. Her figure was enveloped in a soft, hazy glow. I noticed the faint white hairs beginning to appear on her head. A bitter sensation welled up in my throat. When I married Shinjingma, my mother had opposed it. It wasn't just about being from different social statuses. She didn't want me to move so far away, fearing I'd be alone and unsupported if I was ever mistreated. In the first couple of years of marriage to Shinjingma, I tried to replicate the dishes my mom made for me, but I could never recreate the same taste. I used the steam from the bowl to hide the moisture welling up in my eyes. It's okay. From now on, I won't leave her side again. My mood was healed by my mom. The next day I slept until 9 in the morning. My mom had already opened the shop for business. During the new year, our town saw many tourists. My mom ran a small store at the corner of the street. The weather on the 5th day was beautiful. By 10 in the morning, the town was bathed in sunlight, and even the air felt serene. As I approached the store and was about to call out to her, the figures of a tall and a small person in the store turned towards me simultaneously. Mommy, Shinshi rushed towards me first. I was a bit stunned. Enveloped in Shinshi's hug, he looked up at me, his large eyes clear and shining. Mommy, I missed you so much. Me, Shinjingma's expression was calm and gentle, a faint smile playing on his lips. Vivi, I was speechless again, and my frown deepened. I was indeed surprised by the arrival of Shinjingma and Shinshi, but soon irritation surged within me. What are you doing here? Unperturbed by my cold response, Shinjingma took my hand. Sorry Vivi, we've had many guests at home these past few days and arrived late. Just then, my mom came out from the back with a fruit platter. She had obviously seen Shinjingma and Shinshi before me. I don't know how Shinjingma had managed to convince my mom. At this moment, she was beaming with joy. Jingma, Shishi, come, have a seat. Thank you, Grandma. Thank you, Granny. Shinshi, usually so mature for his age, was now sweet-talking adorably. My mom was all smiles, her crow's feet deepening. She went over to Shinshi. Oh, my dear, come here, let Granny give you a hug. Here, this is your New Year's red envelope from Granny. Happy New Year. May our precious child be healthy, safe, and happy. Shinshi smiled warmly again, letting my mother hug him close. She really liked Shinshi. Even though it was their first meeting, her smile was genuine and contagious. This was the first time I'd seen my mom so happy since I returned home days ago. I knew why Shinjingma had come. After hanging up the phone last night, he drove Shinshi to my place. He thought I was sulking and had run back to my parents' home, hoping this might ease my anger. Yet, there was no joy in my heart, only layers of irritation enveloping me. Shinjingma, I tried to control my temper, thinking I had made things clear to him last night, but Shinjingma interrupted me. Vivi, I've been driving for 5 hours. I'm so tired, he said, his handsome brows furrowed, showing a sense of fatigue. Hearing this, my mom quickly sympathized and urged me to let Shinjingma and Shinshi rest first. I could see right through Shinjingma's act, but looking at my mom, immersed in joy, I decided not to argue with Shinjingma in front of her. I led Shinjingma and Shinshi towards the house, with the father and son following behind. Shinshi held Shinjingma's hand, who seemed hesitant to speak. I planned to find an excuse to send Shinshi away once we got home and confront Shinjingma alone. I used to like Shinjingma a lot. Being with him in silence was enough, but now, seeing him only brought intense aversion and dislike. It's funny how easy it is to start liking someone, and just as easy to start disliking them. What are you really trying to do, Shinjingma? I asked, feeling a headache coming on just from dealing with him. Vivi, I didn't mean anything by it. Just brought Shishi to see his grandma. Shinjingma looked at me. Haven't you always said that Shishi hasn't met his grandmother yet? I found it laughable. I had told him many times before, but he had always ignored it, and now, he was suddenly proactive. I looked at him with mocking eyes, and Shinjingma pursed his lips. Vivi, don't look at me like that. I'm sincere. As if I needed his sincerity, the arrival of Shinjingma and Shinshi disrupted the peace of my past few days. However, I must say, their visit made my mom happier than usual. She liked Shinshi and extended her love for me to him, growing fonder of him by the day. Shinjingma, too, was putting on a great show of being the perfect son-in-law in front of my mom. Even though she didn't say it, I could feel her attitude towards Shinjingma changing. Shinjingma and Shinshi stayed for 2 days. As the year was coming to an end, my mom couldn't help but ask one day, Vivi, when are you guys going back? I prepared many things for you to take with you. Shinjingma was there too, but he didn't respond, just looked at me. Let's stay a few more days. I want to spend more time with you, I said, not committing to a specific time. A flash of joy crossed Shinjingma's face. In the evening, I planned to have a frank talk with Shinjingma. But unexpectedly, I first overheard his conversation with Shinshi. Dad, when can we go home? I don't like it here. Shinshi frowned. throwing the toy he was holding onto the ground, the toy my mom had given him, not knowing how to please a child, just following what the local boys had, so she bought a bunch for Shinshi. When Shinshi first saw the gifts, he was delighted and sweetly thanked his grandmother several times. However, now he said, "These toys are not fun at all. I miss Grandma and Aunt Ling. I want to go to the amusement park with her." Shin Jingma gently furrowed his brow and patiently soothed Shinshi. "It won't be long now. Once your mom cools down, we can all go home together. You need to be good these next few days and not make mom angry." "Okay," Shinshi nodded reluctantly. Listening to all this, I suddenly burst into a mixture of laughter and annoyance, taking advantage of the good weather these days. My mom suggested I take Shinjingma and Shinshi to play in the town for a couple of days. When Vivian was little, she loved playing around in town. To call her in for dinner, I had to go up to that bridge and shout for her, my mom said cheerfully, sharing stories of my childhood with Shinjingma and Shinshi. Shinjingma listened attentively, occasionally smiling at me as he watched me. In the town, Shinshi ran ahead joyfully, occasionally looking back to make sure Shinjingma and I were keeping up. After the new year, the flow of people in the town gradually decreased. Now, only a few people walked on the cobblestone streets, giving the town a serene and tranquil beauty. "Xiao Wei, you've never told me about your childhood," Shinjingma said, trying to break the silence and evidently searching for a topic of conversation. I glanced at him. No, I had mentioned it before. It's just that Shinjingma didn't seem interested, so I gradually stopped talking about it. Now, for some reason, Shinjingma made a promise. "Xiao Wei, let's come here and stay for a while every year." He looked at me with a calm and steady gaze, but I found it rather amusing. It seemed like just another thing he said to appease me. Before I could respond, I suddenly heard Shinshi's excited shout up ahead, "Aunt Ling, Shishi," ahead on the road. Ling Rushwang opened her arms to welcome Shinshi, who was running towards her. Shinjingma suddenly frowned and instinctively looked at me. Seeing that I didn't react, he approached Shinshi. "Shishi, come here," he said as Shinshi reluctantly pushed away from Ling Rushwang's embrace. Shinjingma asked Ling Rushwang how she happened to be there. With a light smile, she replied, "I'm here on vacation, and I heard you were here too." What a coincidence. Indeed, it was quite the coincidence. Out of all of China, Ling Rushwang happened to choose this small town. Shinjingma pursed his lips and looked at me. Following his gaze, Ling Rushwang saw me and her smile deepened. "Miss Jiao, hello. I didn't expect to meet you here. I didn't get a chance to wish you a happy new year during your last phone call with Jingma." She brought up that New Year's Eve call, her eyes gleaming with pride and a hint of gloating. "I heard there was a misunderstanding between you and Jingma because of me. And you went back to your parents' home. If that's true, then I am really at fault. Miss Jiao, Jingma, Shishi, and I are all good friends. They said they'd come to spend New Year's with me because I was alone, but leaving you alone at home was really inconsiderate of us," she said earnestly. Before I could respond, Shinshi took her hand. "It's okay, Aunt Ling. My mom is just like that, and she's not angry anymore, right, Mom?" Shinshi asked, looking towards me. My gaze lingered on his small body leaning close to Ling Rushwang. It was a habitual dependence and intimacy, something I had strived for many years to achieve but never had. But by now, I no longer harbored any illusions. I wouldn't say I'm angry. After all, people like Miss Jiao who take such good care of someone else's husband and child are rare, I said with a light laugh. Ling Rushwang detected the sarcasm in my words. A slight stiffness crossed her smiling face, but she quickly regained her composure. She bowed her head and responded to Shinshi. Shinshi invited Ling Rushwang to join our group. "My mom grew up in this town. She knows it well and can be our guide," Shinshi said. Shinjingma frowned. About to speak, Ling Rushwang gave a slight smile and said, "Is that so? Then we really must trouble Miss Jiao." Ling Rushwang continued to travel with us afterward. She still held a grudge against my earlier sarcastic remarks. Throughout the trip, she subtly isolated me, showing off her closeness with Shinjingma and Shinshi. "Jingma, this place is beautiful. Take a photo of she and me here," she said, wrapping her arm around Shinshi by the ancient bridge. She effortlessly directed Shinjingma. After taking the photo, Ling Rushwang suggested, "Let's take a photo with all three of us." Her gaze swept around and settled on me. "Miss Jiao, would you mind taking a group photo for us?" Shinjingma looked at me, instinctively wanting to say something, but I had already agreed. "Sure." Ling Rushwang smiled. Shinjingma's eyebrows suddenly furrowed, his gaze intense as he looked at me. After I took the picture, Shinjingma suddenly said, "Xiao Wei, let's take a family photo." "No thanks, I don't like taking photos," I replied. Shinjingma opened his mouth to speak but hesitated, his expression grave. At night, Shinjingma knocked on my door. "Wei Wei, what is it?" Shin Jingma pursed his lips. Rushwang wasn't called over by me, he unusually explained himself. Of course, I knew. Shin Jingma was well aware of the distance between us. At this critical moment, he certainly wouldn't have Ling Rushwang appear before me. I know, because I invited her over, I said. Shin Jingma looked up, confusion deep in his eyes. I stared back, seeing my own reflection in his eyes. A cold smile playing on my lips. Shin Jingma, do you want to know how I've been all these years? When you were with Shin Shi and Ling Rushwang, Shin Jingma's face turned pale. He clearly thought of the events of the day, even though it was supposed to be just the three of us. But the interaction between Ling Rushwang, Shin Shi, and Shin Jingma was so familiar. This was only when I was around. When I'm not there, I don't know how many misunderstandings he chooses to ignore, like that New Year's Eve post on social media. I didn't. Shin Jingma tried to explain, but the truth was evident. Despite attempts to hide it, I looked calmly at Shin Jingma. Don't worry, I'm not angry. She and Ling Rushwang get along so well. If she becomes Shi's stepmom, I'd be happy. When the time comes, Xiao Wei, Shin Jingma interrupted me, his dark eyes intensely fixed on me. Tears of frustration and anger welled up in her eyes. I never thought about divorcing you. Do you expect me to just continue watching you with Ling Rushwang and Shin Shi like this? Shin Jingma, you can't have it all. Wanting everything for yourself, I don't. Xiao Wei, the person I love has always been you, but I don't love you anymore. Shin Jingma was suddenly at a loss for words. The color drained from his face like water leaking from a cracked glass bottle, slowly ebbing away. I could clearly see the shattered, damp light in his eyes. Let me reiterate bluntly, Shin Jingma, I don't love you anymore. The year I married Shin Jingma, I thought to myself, I must stay with him for a lifetime. Even if there were many rumors and gossip outside, I had firmly chosen him, but I forgot. Some paths are too hard to walk alone. I married Shin Jingma and occasionally felt his indulgence and love for me, but it wasn't consistent. It felt more like charity from a beggar. When happy, he gave more. When not, he gave nothing. I had been deceiving myself for a long time. What about Shi? He's our child. Don't you want him either? Shin Jingma looked at me with a sorrowful gaze. I was silent. Shin Shi wasn't my child. He was a child of the Shin family. Moreover, I think he would prefer Ling Rushwang as his mother over me. Shin Jingma couldn't believe it. That night, he left in a daze. The next day, Shin Shi wanted to go play on the other side of the town. I didn't go with them. You guys go ahead. As soon as I finished speaking, Shin Shi bounced excitedly and ran to the waiting Ling Rushwang. Aunt Ling, since mom isn't coming, let's go have fun. Shin Jingma watched Shin Shi and Ling Rushwang's interaction. For the first time, it painfully struck him. Shin Jingma followed Shin Shi and Ling Rushwang. I thought it would be like before. Without me, the three of them would have fun, but unexpectedly, an hour later, Shin Jingma returned, dragging a heartbreakingly sobbing Shin Shi. While Ling Rushwang was nowhere to be seen. Daddy's bad, Shin Shi cried, his little face and nose red. Shin Jingma's expression was dark. It was the first time I saw father and son so angry and arguing. I was somewhat surprised. What happened? I asked Shin Jingma. Shin Jingma didn't answer, so I asked Shin Shi. Unexpectedly, when I reached out, Shin Shi pushed me away. I don't want you, Shin Shi, Shin Jingma sternly scolded. I was completely confused. A few minutes later, I finally understood what had happened. It turned out that Ling Rushwang had gone out with them. Initially, everything was fine. But when Ling Rushwang offered Shin Jingma a bite of the newly bought buckwheat cake she had tried, Shin Jingma coldly looked at the cake she had bitten. Suddenly, he harshly swiped his hand. That's disgusting. Ling Rushwang, unsteady, heard this and her expression drastically changed. Jingma, Shin Shi hurriedly ran to help Ling Rushwang. Dad, what's wrong? Why did you push Aunt Ling? It was the first time Shin Jingma realized that Ling Rushwang's actions were overstepping boundaries. He struggled to hide his emotions, but his tone was dark as he told Ling Rushwang, stop following us around, you're disturbing us, it's annoying. Ling Rushwang's eyes widened in disbelief. Shin Shi loudly objected, Dad, what are you talking about? How could Aunt Ling be disturbing us? Didn't we have a great time together before? Every kind word they had once said now felt like a knife stabbing into Shin Jingma's heart. Clenching his fists, he seemed enveloped by a thick, dark aura. So that's how it is. I shook my head and sighed. Seeing Shin Shi crying pitifully, I decided to comfort him. Shi, stop crying, don't pretend to care. If you hadn't insisted on coming back, none of this would have happened. Unexpectedly, Shin Shi was particularly repulsive towards me today. I looked down to see the blame and resentment in his tear-filled eyes, a look all too familiar to me. Yet, I was wronged. After all, I had done nothing. Shin Jingma was already angry with Shin Shi for his disrespect towards me twice. Shin Shi, what are you talking about? It's true, We were having a good time without you. You've always left me at grandma's house since I was little. You never fulfilled your responsibilities as a mother. I actually like Aunt Ling more, not you. Shinshi yelled at me. Agreed. I was stunned, momentarily at a loss for how to respond. Shin Jingma firmly grasped Shinshi. Who taught you to say these things? Shinshi didn't speak, just pouted, and his eyes reddened. I felt a numb exhaustion in my heart, but then, a strange relief followed. If that's the case, then it's for the best. I squatted down to look directly at Shinshi. That look contained all my complex feelings for him. In the end, I only said one thing. Actually, I don't like you very much either. Shinshi was stunned, staring at me blankly. I smiled at him. So from now on, let's not see each other anymore. Divvy. Shin Jingma's voice trembled. I told him, Shin Jingma, you can leave now. Shin Jingma originally thought that bringing Shinshi would be a bargaining chip to keep me, but in the end, he became the final link to ending our relationship. Years ago, when Shin Jingma agreed to the elder Shin's request to take Shinshi to the old house to raise him. He probably never thought that this decision would become a dagger aimed at both me and him. I have no regrets towards Shin Jingma and Shinshi. It's they who have wronged me, but fortunately, now, I have freed myself from the shackles. The day Shin Jingma left with Shinshi was the 8th day of the month. My mother didn't know about what happened between me and Shin Jingma. She cared for Shin Jingma and Shinshi, asking them to visit home when they could. Shin Jingma glanced at me, trying hard to hide the bitterness in his smile. Okay. Shinshi sat in the back seat of the car. The car window obscured his figure and face. He was still angry, perhaps waiting for me to coax him, but I didn't care anymore. I told Shin Jingma to make sure to sign the divorce agreement. This is the last thing I'm asking you to do. Don't disappoint me. Shin Jingma didn't speak, his eyes quietly reddening. Xia Wei, I can't take you with me, can I? Yes. A month later, I successfully divorced Shin Jingma. 6 months after, my mother also found out about it. Shocked, she asked me why. I didn't tell her what I had been through over the years, just that I didn't love him anymore. Although my mother sighed with regret, as time passed, she said nothing more. The reason she didn't say much was that Shin Jingma brought Shinshi to visit her every summer and winter vacation. However, during these times, I was always absent for some reason. After hearing about the divorce, Shin Jingma returned to the old house. He had a big argument with Mother Shin there and then took Shinshi to live with him personally. I thought he would marry Ling Rushwang, but he didn't. And for some reason, Ling Rushwang went abroad again. Shin Jingma deleted all the moments he had shared with Ling Rushwang and Shinshi during the new year. He replaced his profile picture with one we took many years ago. Many people noticed and messaged me, joking in a tone no different from how they had flattered Ling Rushwang and Shin Jingma when they were together during the new year. The messages became too much, and I started to get annoyed. She simply pinned a post about her divorce at the top of her social media feed. Please do not disturb, already divorced. Everyone was shocked, except for a few insiders who had some suspicions. Now, about Shinshi. Initially, he was unaware that Shin Jingma and I had divorced. After returning to Shin Jingma's side, he asked Shin Jingma about me. Where's mom? Why hasn't she come back yet? At first, Shin Jingma remained silent. As Shinshi kept asking, Shin Jingma eventually said, Mom won't be coming back. Why? Shin Jingma didn't answer him. Feeling downhearted, Shinshi found Shin Jingma's phone and sent me a voice message. Mom, when are you coming back? Later on. Shinshi came to understand what separation and divorce meant. I heard he cried a lot, insisting on seeing me, but in the end, he never did. Eventually, Shin Jingma would occasionally bring him to the small town. By then, each winter and summer vacation became the times Shinshi looked forward to the most, just like I used to.